Grandest, great day, great day. To anyone that was on the private stream, it was like, what the heck happened with Sister Soul? I literally passed out, like, seriously. I was so tired. I kept telling you I was tired, but I know we had to get the private stream in before this week because this is our fourth week, the final week. So we'll see who'll be part of our private group per se. So when it comes to that, I am just like, yeah, I'm tripping, but I'm definitely gonna try to get me more rest. Today I'm getting more rest. I'm gonna try to get this build out the way and be done with it so I can relax for the rest of the day. But I got some rest after that. I was actually fine. My daughter wanted to call an ambulance, scared the shit out of her, but I'm like, damn, baby, I don't know. I just was tired. She was like, why you ain't get off that line? But yeah, either way, y'all know I just do what the heck I be doing, and like literally, it's ridiculous. Okay, so let's do this, real quick, guys. I am going to start um, with this book that we were reading in a private stream. I could share some of this in this build. We're gonna go from here, and yeah, let that be that. Let me put my little banner up for anyone that wants to get any information on anything we are. Don't forget about the book club. Um, that's also going to be determined at the end of this month. The book drop is going to be on the 31st. So you have to the 30th to get your funding in for the book drop. Peace, brother. Peace and bliss. We're going to start with this book here that we were reading last evening. So continuation. And let's go.
These Northmen were very fond of war and despised or pitied those who stayed at home and lived in peace. They behaved that the gods loved those who died in Alfred that a band of English had attacked a party of Danes and put them to flight. This renewed his courage and hope.
Are you saying you cannot hear, brother? I see you put this in the chat. I don't know if you're saying you can hear. Just can you hear? Yes or no? Put a yes or no. It's like 10 people watching. Can nobody put a yes or no so I can know if y'all can hear? Because I don't know what that means. You're saying that it's fine. The sound is fine. You can hear the book. Great. Okay. I want to make sure. I'm sorry. I don't understand. I'm not very good with the emojis, honey. It ain't you. It's me. All right. Let's go. We're going to continue on.
So as a certain portion of it to each task. Wise men to his court from the centers of learning in Europe, in order that his people might
Don't
be
tell me this been
benefited by
playing
their
this whole time and y'all
nose/lech.
didn't hear it.
He was known
I
everywhere as
swear.
the man who
This is what I
always
be saying
told the
about
truth.
participation in the
All
chat.
the
Like,
world now knows him as Alfred the Great.
this is crazy.
After many years, the Danes
Hold
discarded
on,
their
let me
heathen
pause
religion
this.
and through the influence of the priests became Christians.
Okay, see how? Thank you. Somebody give me 2 seconds. I know you're probably busy, brother, but I need some help. But so you could not hear any of that was playing, brother. Nothing was heard any of that time. That's what I'm trying to find out. I kept asking in the chat and like, really, did you hear any of the book being read, brother? Say yes or no for me, please. I just need to know what's going on. I did ask like 3-4 times, but I know people busy. They in and out doing stuff, so I'm gonna just get into this. Let's just do that. I don't need one. I'm definitely not gonna go back. And I kept asking, could y'all hear? I asked from the beginning. I don't know what happened, but that's neither here nor there. We're about to get into this now. Let's see. I'm telling you. I can't get no participation right now. This shit crazy. Okay, let me just go to this real quick. We're gonna get into this like real quick, cause yeah, about to get into the Ani Kanani tribe, the tribe that the Muskogee. Hold on one second. The tribe that the Muskogee Indians, the Creeks and Muskogees actually, they said they put the war on them and kind of demise that tribe. I'm sure they didn't demise all of them, but they kind of wiped out most of the tribe. These were the original ancient tribes. So we're about to get into that. I'm going back to the other computer, share this information. So give me a second. I got to mute this one so it's no echo. All right, one second. Mute this. Let's see. Now, can you guys hear me now? Can you guys hear me over here? If so, I can start playing this real quick. Keep it moving, cause it's like I don't know what's going on. I know my energy is totally down, so I would like somebody to help get mine up with at least a little participation. But god dang, this shit seems like it's a lot to ask for y'all. I swear that's why
Endured the
I ain't
pain.
gonna be wasting my time.
Endured the pain.
Okay, here we go. Hold on.
At long last he reached the top of the rise.
Hold on.
Hips creaked in pain as he made his slow way up the rise. He thought of stopping for a rest, of sitting down or even lying down, but he knew that if he did that, he would stay there, probably to die. And so he did not stop. He kept moving. He endured the pain. At long last he reached the top of the rise,
Okay, great.
and he
Thank you,
paused to look
Walter.
down into the valley below.
Thank you.
There was nothing there. He stared wide-eyed and unblinking in disbelief, his mouth hanging open. He rubbed his rheumy old eyes with the back of his left arm. Still there was nothing there. He asked himself if he could possibly be mistaken about the location, if he might be looking down into the wrong valley. After all, he reminded himself, it had been many long years. But no, there could be no mistake. He was on the right road, and he was looking down into the same old valley that he had once known so well. But Men's Town was nowhere to be seen. It was gone. It was just gone. He sat down heavily on the ground there on top of the rise and continued to stare at the spot where the town should have been, where he knew that it had been in times past, in the days of his youth. Of course, the real people did move their towns from time to time, but not Men's Town. There could be no reason to move Men's Town. The Anikutani, the priests of Men's Town, did not depend on the soil nearby for their food. Their food was all supplied by the people of other towns. Yet Men's Town was gone, and he had no idea where to go to look for it. He didn't know where the next nearest towns would be or should be. Perhaps they too had been moved. Strange things were happening in the world these days. He thought back over the last 3 or 4 years of his life. He wasn't even sure how long it had been, how much time this journey had taken. He only knew that it seemed a lifetime, and that the hardships and the horrors he had experienced had aged him rapidly and prematurely. He recalled the number of recently abandoned towns he had seen while traveling with the Españoles, the Spaniards, the Christians who burned everything they came across, who killed so casually and so brutally. Sometimes the people ahead of them had heard of their approach, and they simply abandoned their towns before the Spaniards arrived. Those had been the lucky ones. Perhaps, he told himself, something like that was the explanation of the missing men's town. Hernando de Soto was not the only greedy Spaniard leading a but here the whole town was just Gone. Not abandoned. Not burned. Gone. He raised himself back up to his
Disappeared.
feet, and as he did, he really felt the pain in his bones and muscles. Ah, he groaned out loud as he stood, partly out of an automatic reaction to the pains that shot through his body and partly out of conviction that the making of the noise somehow assisted him in his effort. He stood for a moment, breathing hard from the sudden exertion, and then started down into the valley. It was a painful descent, but it was not as difficult as the going up on the other side had been. He was about halfway down the slope when he realized that he could, after all, see where the town had once been. He could see the outline of the old wall, and he could see the mound there where the temple had stood. He tried to envision the town as it had been, but he found that his memory failed him. He tried to move faster, but could not. He kept his same slow, steady pace. Each step was an effort. Each step was deliberate and cautious. His mind told him that if he should chance to fall, his brittle old bones would surely break, and that would be the end. He was not afraid of the end, but he saw no reason to hasten it or to make it any more painful than was necessary. At last he reached the site of the vanished town. It was here, he said aloud, but in a low voice. After all, he was speaking only to himself. It was right here. And then he saw that the town had been gone for a very long time. The Spaniards could have had nothing to do with it. Whatever had happened to Men's Town, it had happened before their time. Ah, how long have I been gone? He asked himself, but he did not answer. He did not know. He walked to the place where his own house had been, and he stepped as if through the door. He stood there looking around. The image. Again he stepped carefully as if through the door. Mound. He found where the steps that led to the top had been, but they had eroded almost away. And on the mount, leaning there for a moment, trying to strength from the mount, for some inspiration. Nothing came to him, and he turned and sat down on the ground, leaning back, old head fall back and rest against the earth, and he stared up into the sky. Ijadai was not far away, unless it too had been moved or destroyed. And Kichawa was not far. But he did not want to get up again. He did not want to walk any more. It had been a long and difficult journey, and it was supposed to have ended here at Men's Town. He would stay. Soon, there at the base of the ancient temple mound, he drifted off into a deep and profound sleep. Leggings, and match coats in addition to their breech clouts. Their heads were shaved except for their long, flowing scalp locks.
Sound like to me. Long, luxurious nine ether, right?
His eyes were a steely blue-gray.
Blue gray.
They were nearly to the bottom of the slope when the third man glanced over toward the side of the ancient priest's
It
town,
is. I'm gonna have
a
to switch
town he
all
had
this
only
info to
heard
this
tales
computer.
about.
Hold on.
Look, he said to his companions. What? Look at what? Over there at the old mound, he said. What is that? It looks like some person lying down there. Let's go and see. The three young men hurried. The two put down their burden. All three looked at the impression left there in the ground by the old wall. They hesitated. It was not
All right. I changed everything over. I sent all the links over to my email. I had that going because I had all the links for this information in on my computer over there, so I just left it up. But let's go. We about to get right back to it, and let me get the email I just sent myself. Inbox. Okay. All right. We were on that book, but I think I wanna. Let me see. We have to do this. Close this down because there ain't enough room on that window. Okay. Email here. And let's go here. I think it was this one. To get to next. Then we'll go back to the books after. Mm, no, that's the book too. Label. Let me see. Where is it? Okay. All right. I want y'all to see who this tribe is. Okay. Particularly that the Muskogee and the Creek tribe kind of destroyed. We were reading this last night. I kind of went over it a bit. Okay. Yeah, always, sis, always. So I kind of I kind of went over it a bit, but we good now. I'm on the laptop with everything. I swear. Okay. I want you guys to understand a little bit. This may be based off some of the information that I've learned. We'll see how much it is, if they've changed anything, and I'll definitely clarify when it comes to the tribe themselves, right? So the Kutani. The Ani Kutani tribe, which was eliminated pretty much, not all of them, but I'm pretty sure most of them by the Muskogee and the Creek tribe, the Cherokees. Okay, the Ani Kutani, they were an ancient priesthood. It was a priesthood among the Cherokee people. Okay, according to Cherokee legend, the Ani Kunani were slain during the mass uprising by the Cherokee. Approximately 300 years prior to the European contact, one legend says that this uprising was sparked by accusations that the Anikunani had become corrupt and were engaging in sexual improprieties. The priesthood engaged in sexual improprieties. It's a lot of these religious cults, right? They have a lot of sexual improprieties, things that go against children specifically because they have the higher energy source for these people to try to manipulate, right? It says that the Anikunani might be connected to the Long Chair clan. The Long Chair clan. It was an Anagalihi, which is or the fire priest that existed in historic times. They were either a clerical class and or a hereditary clan. Ani is a prefix that is referring to a group of individuals, particularly. Okay. Okay. James Mooney's writings that were concerning the Ani Kunani from the writings of Mooney, Myth of the Cherokee, in section 108, it says that the massacre of the Ani Kunani, among other perishing traditions, is that the relating to the Ani Kunani or the Ani Quatani, concerning whom the modern Cherokee know so little that their very identity is now a matter of dispute. They don't even know their identity based off of this, they're saying, right? It says a few holding that they were an ancient people who preceded the Cherokee and who built the mounds, while others with more authority claim that they were a clan or a society in the tribe and that they were destroyed long ago by pestilence or other calamities. Now, very possible that these people were people that migrated in, maybe tribes that belonged to the Magdad, right? When they came in, right? The ones that had the red hair, when we hear about certain ones that had the red hair, so on and so forth, these people came through and they were also Indians. They were the ones that were being enslaved by the Copper Indians that actually ruled the lands. So when they say an ancient tribe, were they actually a part of the ancient tribe? Because a lot of our tribes were lighter, right? What a lot of people don't understand is some of these tribes being lighter were infiltrated by the black natives per se, coming in and mixing so that they could assume the land and slaughtering these women, taking over their land, marrying them, and after they get the control, they kind of get rid of them, assuming these roles and darkening the land in some areas that were actually lighter. That's very possible, right? Now, it also says that the Ani Kutani most likely supervised religious ceremonies among the Cherokee. They may have been mound builders who lived in the Appalachian lands in which the Cherokees had settled. Now, mind you, when we're thinking about the Appalachian land, these were indigenous lands, but they were preceded by what? The Melungeons, right? So who are the Melungeons? The Melungeons were the tribes that, or the Indians in the Appalachian Mountains and so on, that were infiltrated by the Spanish. So the Spanish infiltrated, and now there were mixed tribes that are the Melungeons. If you're not familiar with the Melungeons, you can go on my community tab. I just reposted it a week or so ago, showing you the Melungeon tribe. Those part of the Melungeon tribe were who? Abe Lincoln, Elvis Presley, Clark Gable, even Marilyn Monroe. Were you guys aware that Marilyn Monroe was actually, her mother was a Mexican? So she was considered a Melungeon as well, which a lot of people aren't aware of, with her blonde hair that she dyed. So when we think about these things, a lot of these people have come into certain areas, mixed and mingled, and then what they would do, um, is take these people, right? They would marry them. They have these frontiersmen, these Quakers, all of the Jesuit clans that would come in. They would marry the Indian woman, as I've shown you and read in many books. They would marry the Indian woman, right? Put her off in the forest or in the woods somewhere. They start tilling the land, taking over her land because now they're the authority, right? They basically enslaved. You hear people talk about, oh, the Indians were enslaved. They were enslaved the Indian. Yes, they were enslaved by the Jesuits, not by their own people a lot of times. In earlier times before these people came over, yes, they were enslaving the different clans, taking over their lands and making them blend in or destroying because they wanted their land. It was family, blood against blood, slaughtering. Yes, it was a lot of bad things going on with our people. Everyone wasn't as humble as a lot of us are or were at that time. So when we're thinking about the Melungeons, which were the ones that infiltrated the Spanish, per se, more so, and then once the Spanish infiltrated, they also had these other people that were coming in, which were the Black natives per se, which they would assume to be the lighter Africans as well, that would come in as frontiersmen, planters, so on and so forth, because they thought they were settlers, and they were settlers, but they were the Jesuit settlers, the ones that had the white face, right? Okay, let's go. Mooney's his informants described this group as a much despised, corrupt abusers of their religious power. Mooney stated that they were so completely wiped out that even at the mention of them by Principal Chief John Ross and Dr. J.B. Evans in 1866, the story and the legend were stated to be a century old and must have, due to the dimness of the details, been even older than a century even then. That was even at that time. So they know the story was way back before early 1700s at a minimum. The people long brought it in silence over the oppression and the outrages of this high castle, whom they did not a hut, not a anything. They had a castle associated with the temple, the temple being the mound. That's a whole nother story. Then when it comes to okay, not now. Length of daring young men. Okay. A member of the influential family organized a conspiracy among the people for the massacre of the priesthood. They organized a conspiracy for the massacre of the entire priesthood, because they were doing what? They were doing things they had no business doing, inappropriate things with young children, being pedophiles, doing pedophilic behavior amongst the nation. But here you are saying that you are a priesthood that is a rulership. So no, they had to excommunicate them, get them right out the way, right? It says that the immediate provocation was the abduction of the wife of the young leader of the conspiracy. His wife was remarkable for her beauty, and she was forcibly abducted and violated by one of the Nicotani, which while he was absent in the chase. On his return, he found no difficulty in exciting in others the resentment which he himself had experienced. So with his wife, when he was going away, they abducted and raped his beautiful wife. So now he's like, hold on, see, we said they gotta go. They definitely gotta go. They done took my wife, abused her. These pedophiles, these rapists, they gotta go. So many had suffered in many of the same way. So many feared that they may be made to suffer, scared it might happen to them, and that nothing was wanted but a leader. They needed a leader appearing in the person of the young brave whom we have named. Okay, the people rose under his direction and killed every Nigatani, which was young and old. All of them got to go. They said, I don't care if you're young, you probably still been corrupted. You got to go too. Thus perished a hereditary secret, a very fine hereditary secret in society, since which time no hereditary privileges have been tolerated among the Cherokee. At this time, now, no particular Cherokee could convulse themselves with any particular perversities at this time, right? Grandest, sis, grandest. Let me check the chat. O'Shawn probably was in the chat last night, like, what happened? Yes, baby, I'm good. Okay, I am awesome. Okay, let's see. Yes. Oh yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, because remember they got the white face, sis. Remember we read it. I read to you guys in the atlas, the American Atlas. It gave us all the information. It told us that they came in. It said that the Negro African Moors, Etruscans, a lot of them came in and they had lighter skin. They passed for white. They had light skin. Some of them had blonde hair. Some had blue eyes, but they were literally the the Africans. Yep. Yeah. Suzanne Marilyn Monroe. Her mom is a straight Mexican. We got to know they just man see these white face. We're part of the theatrics. You guys got to go back and see the bill on the Jewish theatrics and them starting the film industry to put this American dream in people's heads. Like literally all of it theatrics in a game, right? All right. Let me see. I'm gonna go read. I want to show some of the sources here. The tribe Cherokee Nation, the Eastern Band, the United Kittiwah Band, all associated. So yeah, this is just some of the history on that. I'll drop this in the chat if you guys want to check out a little more information or go in depth into some of the other info that is in there. Hold on, I'm looking for the other article before I get into the books. Hold on a second, guys. I gotta go back to the email. I ain't label them. I'm just, oh, it popped up. Okay. All right. Dismiss this, please. Okay, let's go. And we're going to go back. I want to get this other one pulled up too. Is this it? Or is that a book? That's a book. Okay. Hold on. Okay, is this it? Book. Is this a book? I think that's a book too. Okay, let me see. Okay, here's the other. Okay, this is the book, and here is the article. Okay, great. Let me get this pulled up, guys. I'll just pull the other book up just in case we get time to get to it too. And then, yeah, we'll go from there. All right, this is what we're going to get into now. Little River Canyon. The brother, listen, the bill I did with the brother, do you know they blocked that bill? I don't know if I told y'all that, but they literally blocked the bill. I cannot believe it. I know that's right, Chief Clerk. I need to get with you. You need to hit your girl up. Hit my email up, Chief Clerk. Let me put it in the chat. See? All that's coming together. If you're available. I want to ask you about your name and if that has anything to do in relation to something. Okay, so let's go. Now, when it comes to it, we're going to get into the National Park Service. Anybody that's coming in, I know y'all like the Snyder. Y'all don't get tricked, y'all. I keep trying to tell y'all. I watched my bill yesterday. I mean, I'm not going to go over it every day, but I'm going to make sure y'all know I got y'all. We really going to get this taken care of. But I'm not going to encourage or give information for people to assist themselves in this application if you don't have control and authority over it. Let's just say that. I'm not going to encourage anyone to sit and put themselves under the wardship of the government by signing off for this little 135,000. This little piece of change really ain't shit, like for real. What can you do with that? You might buy a little piece of house on what do you call it, the auction or something. You might get you a little piece of car. You still got to eat. You still got to do this. You still got to do that. So y'all want to keep doing all that? Still struggling? Thinking that you don't went somewhere? Come on, y'all. Y'all got to wake up. Please don't be fooled again. Our people did this too many times. All right. Anyway, let's go. I'm gonna get into that too. The Cherokee people, 1600 to 1840 CE. All right. The origins of the Cherokee people are lost in the midst of time. Oral tradition has the ancestors of the Cherokee migration south from the Great Lakes region. The language of the Cherokee is the Aragonquin language, the Iroquois, I think that's a Quoian language family, shared with many of the Native American tribes. Now, listen, shared with many of the Native American tribes. So we know, right, the Cherokees are now the Native American tribe. Now, when we think about the demise of who? Those priesthood that they said, and at the time they were doing some colonization during that time, 1700s. That was it's at 100 years prior. So remember, because of the perversity and all the things that were going on, they kind of wanted to blot that out. They didn't want people to understand the perversity of it all. They didn't want people to see what was going on with the past and the history of these priests, right? That were the rulers, right, at that time of the tribe. They wanted to hide that history. So, in the same sense of that, there's creation of the new foundation during the 1700s, because now they're creating the native tribes, the ones that are now indigenous to the United States corporation that was being formulated at this particular time. So now let's hear a little bit more about it. In what is modern day New York, Michigan, Ontario, y'all know that's Canada, what is also Canada, and Quebec, pockets of other Iroquoian languages are found in Pennsylvania and Maryland, Virginia and North Carolina, and with the Cherokee homelands of Western North Carolina, Northwestern South Carolina, Northeastern Georgia, and Eastern Tennessee, as we read yesterday, guys, right? Remember, I went over the information, all of us in the same area. The ancestors of the Cherokee are considered part of the later Pisqua phase of the South Appalachian Mississippi culture. Okay, the South Appalachian, we hear that. We know that these are what? The Melungeons, the mulatto tribes that are coming, that they're talking about. We're not talking about full bloodlines. We're talking about the Melungeons of the Spanish, right? Coming from the Appalachian, a period where ceremonial mounds were built in a town with numerous smaller villages around it. As with so many of the Mississippian people across the Southeast and arriving of Spanish conquistadors, they would spread disease and chaos through their lands, beginning the process of destruction from which the Native American tribes we know today arose. Which what? The Native American tribes in which we know arose, because what? They were the Melungeons. They were the mixing with these people that had the disease and things. Then when they came and started mixing with our people, they were blending and spreading their diseases all over the place. Do you guys hear this shit? When they want to say that it was just the white people, the white tea people, as they say. It was not just the white tea people, because see what was going on once these conquistadors were mixing with the natives there, the Melungeons now became those that started blending with our people as they moved across the land, these Cherokee tribes, and they start formulating as they were part of parishes and plantations and reservations, depending on where they derive from, either a homesteader that may have had them under their thumb, may have been put into slavery. There were different things going on with these tribes. So now when this happens, they started spreading. Now they're mixing with the indigenous tribes because they're Melungeons. Some of them probably look just as dark or just as light, because remember, our tribes were actually, some of them were light. A lot of them were very light. When people are talking about, oh, they talking about they Indian, but look how light they is. They mixed with white. They not mixed with no damn white nut. A lot of us was already light, literally. Of the copper, red, they were copper skin. They were red skin. They were lighter skin. Some, just like we are now today. Nothing's changed. Are you serious? People are stupid. Um, so when it comes to it, the ones that were coming in when they were Melungeons, right? Excuse me. the ones that came in that were mixed Melungeons with the Spanish, these Melungeons, some of them were very bright and some were copper. So some would look more like the Indians. So they looked the same. They couldn't tell if they was a pure Indian or not, because they didn't do the DNA testing back then, right? So now they went on strictly the color or what tribe they said they were from, what area they were from. So now if I come to you and I'm a Melungeon, I'm a Spanish and a mixed Indian, and our tribe comes and we try to mix with your tribe, you might have a tribe that's kind of lighter, so we may even be darker than you. So when we come mixing with y'all definitely think we Indians, because we ain't no white folks. You feel me? Y'all get it? So now when that happens, that makes it easier for them to blend in, right? And these tribes are agents now, because remember we read that they were agents. These people were agents. Okay, let me see what's coming. I'm sorry, El Borio Grandis. They were agents, right? These people were agents. So now they were blending, and it told you right here that they were mixing their nasty, disgusting Melungeon blood with our people, bringing disease and pathogens and all that. I don't know what that means. Add, clip in. I don't know what that means, brother. I'm sorry. But yeah, so they were doing that. A blink in. I don't know what that means either, brother. I'm sorry. Should have known it wasn't just white people spreading. Yeah, it says, come on, it was all of them with they dirt. It's telling us. It just told us right there. Tell your mom. Yep, she was right. There, go right there. It just said it right there. As with so many of the Mississippian people, which were the Appalachian, we just read up there, the Appalachian Mississippian culture, the Appalachian Mississippian culture. So many of the Mississippian people, which would be the Appalachian, which we know the Appalachians were the Melungeons, right? Across the southeast, and the arrival of the Spanish conquistadors would spread disease and chaos through their lands, beginning the process of destruction from which the Native American tribes we know today arose. This is where they arose from. The Native American tribes arose from the Melungeons. So now these Melungeons, as I said, of course, being mixed, a lot of our tribes couldn't tell that they was mixed. They couldn't tell that they was Melungeons. They just thought they was Indian because they were of the same color. Some was probably lighter brown, some was darker, just like Marilyn Monroe. She looked more white. She didn't look like she was mixed with the Mexican. She didn't look like she was a conquistador and white. She looked pure white. Abe Lincoln, we have pictures of they whitened him out, because I've got a picture of him with his real dark skin, afro and all. So we know they lighted him out as well. Elvis Presley, he looked just like a straight white boy, but he was a Melungeon. He was mixed. He was a Melungeon. And you see how he moved. That's why they were so crazy. And they looking like, oh, this white boy, they can move like this. No, Melungeon. It's crazy, y'all, when we think about it. Okay, let's keep moving real quick. When the English arrived in North America, the Cherokee people were already established as excellent hunters, traders, and warriors through the late 1600s and early 1700s. The Cherokee would make both war and treaties with the English. Listen, the Cherokee would make war and treaties with the English. Now, here these conquistadors, these half-rooted ass fucking beings, want to bring their ass and say, hey, we're going to be the ones to make these treaties. But see, these treaties are illegal because why? They didn't have the authority to do that. They took them and made them as law, but they weren't. They don't have the authority to do that. These conquistadors, these mixed tribes, these Melungeons that were thieves and took all the stuff. Y'all got to see that show. Oh, I need to show the brother build. Damn, he did a build on the brother. Haru did a build on the Flower Moon breakdown. Straight facts. I didn't see the whole thing, but I got to go back and see it. I might play a little bit of it for y'all when we before we get out of here, because I definitely am gonna finish watching it. So I'll watch a little with you guys. But definitely go over there and make sure y'all subscribing to the brother and all of that, because he definitely fired. Okay. They were it most benefited the people. They were at times the best of trading partners and the worst of enemies to the English colonists, leading the crown to seek more permanent treaties with the brave Cherokee. Dirty. As the English expanded their territory in the colonies to the east side of the Appalachian Mountains, the Cherokee fought with the Muskogee Creek over their lands to the south in the West. So here we go with these Cherokee, part of the five tribes, fighting off the Muskogee and the Creek so that they could steal and take their damn lands. They were agents of the government coming in, mixing, mingling, fighting, stealing, marrying off their people, get married to their women, taking the land, killing the woman off, killing the children off. They was doing all that. It's been proven. Okay. The Cherokee quickly adapted to their new European neighbors. I'm sure they did because they was part bloodline with them, right? Adopting their technologies, their agricultural practices and customs, enmeshing them with their own. And while the Cherokee enjoyed the good relations with the British, their relationship with the new American nation would be full of promise, yet ultimately disrupt their very ways of life. Continuing on the path adopting the Euro American technologies, the Euro American. Okay, when you hear Euro, what's that? The white American? Okay, and practices while still maintaining their sovereign status. They had sovereign status at the time. Okay, the Cherokee found allies in the American government. Oh, why would they find allies in the American government unless they were part of the same damn clans, right? Just like the conquistadors came in, these people started mixing and mingling with these black ass natives. And once they got these black natives to be on their side, they said, hey, we're going to start mingling with them because, see, we're going to have this government and take control and we'll have the rulership with they dumbass. But they got knocked right out the way because they didn't even know what they was doing, trying to rule something, screwed up everything, okay? Along with a few other tribes, 4 others to be specific. All right. Federal and state laws were enacted to protect the Cherokee lands from the encroachment by settlers. Oh, really? But they were the settlers. Isn't the settlers of the land creating the BLM office, bringing in the pathogens and the genomes and all of these different immigrants? The Cherokees being the ones that were immigrating, the EM, not the I immigrating, but the E immigrating across the lands and conducting affairs with the government on lands that didn't belong to them. That's what it kind of boils down to, right? Okay, let's go. Warriors to help in the fight against the British and the Muskogee. So they came, hey, yes, let's join in with these Americans because, see, we're going to fight against them so we could take this land. The Cherokees going into contract with the United States, right? With the United States Corp, right? It says here allies in the American government, right? Which was the American government being the tribes that were the government of the land. Because remember, we already had governorship, right? So when these Cherokees were bringing these others in that were infiltrating and agents, they took over the government that we already had, the already American government, not the United States government, right? It's telling us that the Cherokee found allies in the American government. Federal and state laws were enacted to protect the Cherokee land. But how? When the settlers were coming in and they were part of what was being constructed with the U.S. government. So it sounds like they came in and infiltrated to me. The Cherokee Warriors were instrumental in the success of General and future President Andrew Jackson. Oh, the success of Jackson. Well, why would they have that? Just like I said, those good old Cherokees coming to the rescue of the United States corporation so that they can enact the rules and take over more of the land, right? Instrumental to the success of the general and to the President Jackson at the Battle of the Horseshoe Bend, effectively ending the Creek War. Now, President Andrew Jackson, they say, was a Cherokee Indian. That's what they say, but I'm not really sure of that. I haven't clarified the information, but I will throw it out there. Let me see. Let me check with the chat real quick. Peace and bliss to anyone that has come in. Oh, I'm glad I left it up so I know our access. Yep, Abraham Lincoln, all of them. Bunch of them luncheons. Bunch of them luncheons. Peace, 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 brother. Grand risings, kinfolk. Grandest to everybody. Definitely. I got y'all. Y'all. I be trying to put stuff. I've been wanting to talk about the Anikanani tribe to bring this out. I literally kept forgetting. I'm telling y'all, when stuff come up, I'll be like, oh, I'm going to talk about this. Something will pop in my mind. Ooh, then I'll go grab information on something. And man, I'll be off to a whole nother thing. My mind be all over the place. I'm telling y'all, that's why I'm building my study group. We about to get this together because it's just too much information for us to do this. I just need somebody that's going to help me and organize. I'm literally overwhelming myself to the point, literally passed out on the effing stream last night. Anyone that just came in just to verify, I had to definitely clarify with everybody that I was definitely fine. we were doing the live, and like I was just so tired. I just kept sitting there kind of dozing because I was letting the book read. I was tired, too tired to read. I was getting frustrated. Like the shit was so crazy, scared the shit out of my baby. But it was like weird. I was alert, but then I was like dozing, and I was like, wait a minute, stand up, stand up. Then just keep it together for a little bit and just do an early end on the stream. Man, I stood up. Next thing you know, shit, I don't know. I was just out. But I am literally been overwhelming myself, and yeah. But I'm gonna get my group together. We got one more private stream. After the next private stream, I'm gonna see who is going to be in the private group, and we are going to be the ones that are studying. Everybody's going to be assigned certain things. I'm gonna have them putting together. I need people that are organized, have a few skills. We just got to do this, y'all. This is no time to be playing around. I am going to be doing the Snyder Act. It's going to be a class. After I finish my class, anyone that wants to just jump out there, be a ward of the United States and continue to live like you've been living, y'all can jump out there and do the damn shit on your own, and continue to be a ward. If not, you'll be able to take the course, and when you take the course, I'm going to get everybody through everything so that they have the control of it over it once they put it through. So there's a couple of things that's going on, and man, it's a lot. I've been so super busy, it's just driving me crazy, but I got y'all. Trust me. I don't say that unless I know that. All right. All right. Where were we at? All right, right here. I want to get to the books, but let me read a little more of this because it has a lot of information. I want to go over. Sadly, the laws set up to prevent the settler encroachment and the bravery shown on the battlefield under the American flag were not enough to save the Cherokee people from a new and a growing nation. Jackson's military successes and the accession to the presidential opened the door for the unfair treaties with the Cherokee ceding large portions of the land. We looked at the land, the ceding of the lands. If you guys remember a couple of weeks ago, those documents, all this shit frozen. Cherokee ceding large portions of land and overturning the laws in favor of further white settler expansion, and eventually the decision of the Cherokee people to either give up the sovereignty as an independent nation or give up all of their land. So it's like you want to give up your freedom or the land, or you want to leading to the Trail of Tears, or do you guys want to take this land that we gonna give y'all because we still taking the shit anyway? Y'all thought y'all was doing something. Y'all thought y'all was finna get into a good binding with us and get everything and be straight, but we really the ones gonna be controlling, and we gonna control y'all too. Cause see, now y'all gonna become wards of the state. We're gonna put you on the reservations. You got to go to this place, that place, and yeah, and that's what end up happening, right? All right, let's go. The Indian Removal Act passed by the American government in 1830 began the Trail of Tears for the Choctaws, the Muskogee Creek, the Seminoles, the Chickasaws, many of whom initially resisted the forced relocation from their homelands to the Indian Territory of what is today Oklahoma. The Cherokee were a torn people over the issue. And as I showed you guys before, remember yesterday I showed you guys in the maps that the land, it didn't say Indian land. So this is where they started putting Indian land. It's no Indian land, making this shit a public damn property. Oh, all the land is Indian land. This Indian land that we've colonized under the Indian, under the BLM and the Indian Management Bureau, the BIA. You guys are doing all these things, setting this up so you can manage it and make these people wards of the state, put them where you want to put them, like they're rats and shit. Like that's what y'all was doing, you know. Okay. With the majority wanting to stay on the land, which was legally theirs and still is legally theirs, right? The minority known as the Treaty Party, and they burnt up all these records so that people would not be able to go back and trace their lands. This is why a lot of the offices, the offices and things were burnt out and drowned out, reorchestrated, reconstructed, making it a new town hall, saying, hey, it's founded here. It was founded once you reconstructed, burnt up records, and moved on to create your own stories. This is what was going on, right? The minority, known as the Treaty Party, wanted to avoid bloodshed and relocate. They signed the treaty in New Akata without surrendering the Cherokee lands east of the Mississippi for lands in the Indian Territory. This resulted in the killings of many of the Treaty Party leaders, but ultimately, the Cherokee people either had to choose becoming citizens of the United States, but ultimately, wait a minute, I want to put that part in the chat for you guys. But ultimately, the Cherokee people either had to choose becoming citizens of the United States in which they lived and losing some of their rights in the process, or packing up what they could carry and leave their ancestral home. See what we just said. Today, the Cherokee people are the largest Native American. They're not Indians. Well, they're not Indians, but they're Native Americans. Native Americans brought to the United States because they're what? Citizens of the United States, meaning what? Now you are a ward of the states. You guys are a ward of the states, right? You can learn more about the Cherokee people and the Trail of Tears by visiting sites along the Trail of Tears National Historic Trail, if you're interested, right? Okay, let's get to, where is it? Let me get to this book. Move this here. I want to get to the Ani Kanani. Let me borrow it for an hour real quick. And because it doesn't expire. I hope they don't do nothing freakish and weird. Come on, go through. I'd love for you to just act right. Awesome. Let's go. There we go. All right. We're going to start. Where is it? Okay. Yeah, this would. I think I'm going to go all the way back. Hold on. We're going to start at the beginning because I want y'all. No, I can't because I want to get to this other stuff. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. Let me go up again. Page 5. Page 6. Where is it? When it starts talking about. Okay, I'm going to start here. All right, guys. Hold on 1 second. Let me get the right page. And we there. Okay. And we're going to get going.
Nature of their personalities that caused the behavior. He HKED her company, and he uked the adventures into which she led them. He wasn't sure about Acorn's reasons for following along. Perhaps Acorn simply didn't have any other real friends. But Cornflower plunged into the woods, and Sparrow and Acorn followed without question or comment. While all they had to do was dodge around trees and make their way through or around underbrush, but soon they were climbing as well. The going got rougher and steeper. Still Cornflower kept up a rapid and steady pace. Sparrow was just behind her, but Acorn was falling farther behind with each stride. They splashed across a swift-flowing mountain stream, and Acorn slipped and fell, skinning his elbow. He started to grow angry, but he scrambled to his feet and ran after his friends, the wet, dead squirrels flapping against his thigh. Then the way grew steeper yet, and they were no longer running uphill. They were climbing. At last, panting and still angry. Acorn was startled when he came right up on Cornflower and Sparrow sitting behind a large boulder. He scowled, but he pulled himself on up beside them and sat down. "Why are we waiting here?" he said. "Look down there," said Cornflower, pointing around the boulder. Acorn pulled himself up with a groan and moved to look. They were high up above the road, and from their vantage point, they could see a good long stretch of the way below. "We'll see him when he comes along here," Cornflower concluded. Acorn sat back down. "If we're just going to wait," he said, "you didn't have to try to run off and leave me behind." "I didn't mean to run off and leave you," said Cornflower. "I thought you could keep up. You're a good runner." "Besides," said Sparrow, "I was in between. I could see you the whole time. And here we are. All three of us." "Well," said Acorn, "we're standing in the doorway." "He'll be coming along soon," said Cornflower. "Unless he's already gone by," said Acorn. "We took a shortcut," said Cornflower, "and we ran. He hasn't been by here yet." "Maybe he's invisible," said Acorn. "A kootenai can do that. He can do that and lots of other things. Maybe he turned into an owl, and he's flying back to Men's Town. We could wait here all night and never see him again. He's coming now, said Sparrow, and the other two jumped up to watch around the boulder. Standing in the doorway had not slowed his pace. He moved in long, quick strides, not looking anywhere except straight ahead. The youngsters stared in awe at the figure of dread moving along there below them. Let's go home, said Acorn. You go if you want to, said Cornflower. I'm going to follow him and watch him go into Men's Town. What if he catches us? He'll cook us and eat us if he catches us, said Comflower, but he won't catch us. We'll be care. He'll. She's just saying that, said Sparrow. Come on. He won't do anything to us. They started down the mountainside toward the road again. Standing in the doorway had already passed beyond the range of vision from up by the boulder. From that, Cornflower reasoned, he would be far enough ahead of them by the time they got back down on the road that he wouldn't know he was being followed. Just before he gets to Men's Town, she said, there's another bend in the road. From there the road is straight. We can get to that bend, and then we can watch him go into the town. Is there some special ceremony when standing in the doorway returns? Asked Sparrow. I don't know, she answered, but we'll find out, won't we? They hurried down the mountainside, and although the way was steep, even Acorn managed to make it to the road without taking another tumble, but by the time he got there, Cornflower was well ahead of him. He trotted along to catch up. At last, at a place where the road curved sharply to their right, she called a halt again. Coming up not far behind her, the boys could tell, even though they couldn't see the road beyond the curve, that up ahead was a deep valley. Down in that valley was Men's Town. They ran up to stand beside her, and just as they arrived, he appeared. They would talk about it later, and they would all agree that they had not seen him walk around the bend or out of the woods. He had simply appeared, standing there before them. His hands were on his hips, and he was looking down at them with a stern, even fierce expression on his tattooed face. He was easily the tallest man any of them had ever seen standing in the doorway. You've been following me, he said, and his voice was deep and resonant. Why have you been following me? If Cornflower was afraid, she didn't let it show. She stepped boldly towards standing in the doorway. We have a gift for you, she said. We brought you these 5 squirrels. She pulled the squirrel loose from the cord at her waist, and she turned toward her companions, holding out her hand. The boys jerked loose their squirrels, and Cornflower took them. Turning back to face standing in the doorway, she held out the offering. The big man looked at one young face after the other. One half of his mouth twisted into a wry smile. What are your names? He said. I'm called Cornflower. I'm one of Anikawi, the deer people, and these are my friends, Acorn and Sparrow. They're both Anitsikwa, bird people. And where do you live? We live in Ijadai, she said. Standing in the doorway reached out to take the squirrels. You had better go home, he said. It will be late now by the time you get back, and your mother will be wondering about you. Sparrow was frightened, but he had noticed something which was strange, and it was puzzling him. The kootenai seemed only to look at Acorn, and it was a strange look, a look which Sparrow could not define. The 3 adventurers had not responded to the suggestion
That's not what
made.
they say. That's not what that shit say. Check this out. Here go the 4th damn book we done found with this nonsense. I get so tired of this. I'm finna read y'all what this actually said, because that's not what it said. It ain't say nothing this shit just read. This is the 3rd time it did this. It says, coming up not far behind her, the boys could tell, even though they couldn't see the road beyond the curve, that up ahead was a deep valley. Down in the valley was Men's Town. It said they ran up to stand beside her, and just as they arrived, he appeared. They would talk about it later, and they would all agree that they had not seen him walk around the bend or up out of the woods. He had simply appeared, standing there before him. His hands were on his hips, and he was looking down at them with a stern, even fierce expression on his tattooed face. He was easily the tallest man that I ever seen. I didn't hear him say anything about that part with the tattoo face. You've been following me. Okay, so maybe it is. Maybe I misheard. Okay, I could be
by the
off.
high
My bad.
priest.
That
They
just
just stood
caught me off
seemingly
guard.
mesmerized. Standing in the doorway spoke again, this time sharply. Go, he said. They turned and ran. They ran as if their lives depended on their speed, and they ran until they could run no more.
He was a giant.
At last Cornflower stopped running and stepped off the road to lean back panting against the trunk of a large oak tree. The boys stopped too. Sparrow sat on a large flat rock, and Acorn just dropped to the ground, falling over on his back. It was some time before they could catch their breath and speak again. Well, said Sparrow, at least he didn't cook us and eat us. Cornflower just made that up, said Acorn. The Anikudni don't do things like that. If we hadn't had squirrels to give him, said Cornflower, he might have taken us. You're just saying that, said Acorn.
So it sounds like after all this was going on with the Ani Kanani tribe, they were, after they had been demised or kind of killed off, as it talked about earlier, they were like hunting people. So what it sounds like is the boy and the girl were just walking, they walking down, chilling in the forest or whatever they doing. And here come one of these Ani Kanani Indians, big giant ass Indian, done jumped out at them, scared them to death. And he said they were cannibals, so they possibly were practicing cannibal. They were dealing with pedophilic behaviors. They were ancient priests. Cannibalism definitely would not be ruled out. So there's a lot going on in this story right here. I'm going to move on in a minute. I just want y'all to hear a little more about it, and then we'll keep going.
You're always saying crazy things. Sparrow glanced at Acorn. The pout was back on Acorn's face, and Sparrow thought again about the way standing in the doorway had looked at Acorn. He wondered if Acorn had noticed that look and, if so, what he was thinking about it. Cornflower stood up straight. Are you ready? She said. Let's go. The boys followed her back onto the road, and they started moving again toward home, but this time they walked. Acorn kicked up puffs of dust deliberately as he walked. We didn't even see Men's Town, he said. 2 Jayoti had been built beside the river they called Tanasi. When they spoke to it ceremonially, they called it Yunwaiganahida, or Long Person, and they knew him as a man with his head resting in the mountains and his feet reaching to the lowlands, and they said that to those who could understand his language he was constantly speaking. Up above Ijadai, not far, was the creek called Sudajai. Perhaps 250 people, real people, lived in Ijadai in houses made of sticks and plastered with mud. The houses were rectangular in shape, perhaps 4 paces by 5 paces, perhaps a little larger. Beside each house stood an OSI, or hothouse. 13. Much smaller and dome-shaped, also plastered with mud. The side of Ijadai away from the river was lined with small family plots owned, as were the houses, by women, and one large communal garden. In these gardens grew several varieties each of corn, squash, pumpkins, gourds and beans. The town itself was constructed around a large plaza, and the nearest buildings to the plaza were public, the largest of those being the town house. All of this, except the gardens, was enclosed by a palisade fence which, like the houses, was plastered with mud. There was no gate at the entrance rather. The 2 ends of the fence were deliberately constructed so that they did not meet but ran parallel to each other for several yards, forming a long and narrow passageway through which people could only pass comfortably in single file. As the 3 wandering youngsters returned home, Cornflower was the first to enter the passageway. Sparrow followed her, and Acorn plodded along in the rear. He was still sullen. The sounds of shouting and laughter filled the town, and they were coming from the plaza. Cornflower picked up the pace and led her 2 loyal followers to the center of town. It seemed as if all of the men and children and some of the women were gathered there. The Gateostai game was in progress. "Let's watch," said Cornflower, and she ran to the edge of the playing field. De Elitenagiskai, hemp carrier, Sparrow's mother's brother, was just about to make his toss. Bets were still being made by some of the bystanders. Hemp carrier held in his left hand a polished stone disc, the diameter of which just about equaled the distance from hemp carrier's wrist to the tip of his middle finger.
Man, it
The
was a
rims
big
of the
old
stone
disc.
were rounded, and it was concave. On both sides. In his right hand he held an 8-foot-long pole, sharpened on one end like a spear. Standing next to hemp carrier was Yonaikwa, Big Bear, the father of Sparrow. He held a pole in his right hand similar to the one hemp carrier held. Then hemp carrier drew back his left arm, swung it forward and with a mighty toss released the stone disc. No sooner had he released it than he began to run after it, the pole drawn back over his shoulder ready to fling. The stone hit the ground some distance ahead and began rolling like a wheel. And hemp carrier threw his spear. He stopped to watch its flight. The stone wheel slowed, wobbled, and fell on its side, and the spear reached the end of its trajectory about the same time, stabbing itself into the soft ground just ahead of the stone. It fell back then, coming to rest on top of the disc. A general shout went up from the crowd, and the men who had bet on hemp carrier began happily collecting their winnings: arrows, knives, furs. Almost anything could be used for a bet. "No one can beat my uncle, hemp carrier," said Sparrow. "He's the best in Ijadai at Gateostai." "You're always bragging," said Acorn. Sparrow felt the skin on his face grow hot. He really didn't think it was bragging to express pride in the accomplishments of someone else, and even though his uncle was a winner, it was his father who had lost. Still, he decided not to respond to Acorn's remark. Acorn was pouty and sullen.
So, you guys see this disc right here? As we're going further into the Ani Katani tribe. The disc that they just described, this looks to me like the exact disc, the round disc. He said it went from like the fingertip to the mid arm, so it was a pretty big circle, and it was cement. So damn, that thing was heavy. These were some big old strong Indians. Okay. So now, when we're looking at this disc, this is the disc they were talking about. This right here, we're going to get into the deep dive into the Ani Kanani. This actually goes into a huge storyline, particularly about them. So let's listen up.
Fears, Edo he had led an army of real people, mostly from his own town of Ijadai, in an attack on Men's Town, the seat of the priestly government. They had killed all of the priests, all who had been there to be killed. Like a pumpkin, who had been sent west with 2 other priests in search of the House of Thunder to bring back the rain, had arrived back home just after the big fight, and he had been spared. And there was another one who might still be among the living somewhere. Like a pumpkin had told the people of how he and his traveling companions had been captured and enslaved by a band of fierce people in the West, people with strange ways and a strange language. Water Moccasin had been killed trying to escape. Later Like a Pumpkin had managed to escape, but the third priest, Deadwood Lighter, was, as far as Like a Pumpkin knew, still a slave to the fierce people. Therefore,
a slave
he
to the
and
fierce people.
Like a Pumpkin were the only 2 surviving priests. It had been a violent revolution which had
Remember, I
successfully.
told y'all this was the time they were colonizing. When they got rid of it, when the Creek and the Muskogees kind of got rid of the priests, so on and so forth. At the same time, this is the 1700s, when they had the Sachems and all of these things. They were mixing, and they were going in and being enslaved by the tribe. They just told you, this is confirmation of what I just told you in the other book that it was showing you. These people, so he just told them he was enslaved by the strange people with the different language. Who else they talking about? So and then they were enslaving people because they were colonizing. He said they were enslaving me. That's because he was being colonized at the time. But let's move on.
Overthrown an oppressive government. But the Ani Kutani had been much more than a government. The real people lived lives of precarious balance in a world which existed between 2 other worlds, 2 worlds of powerfully opposed spiritual forces.
Mm-hmm.
Any wrong move could result in disaster.
Mm-hmm.
The Ani-Kyutani prevented disaster by prescribing rules of behavior for everyone and by conducting public rituals and ceremonies designed to maintain balance and harmony. Some of the people behaved firmly that because the priests had been killed, the world would soon come to an end. The revolution, they thought, had been a form of mass suicide. Without the Ani-Kyutanel, each of the towns of the real people was on its own, completely autonomous. No more was there any central authority, and, therefore, there were many who suddenly recognized no authority, and so the reigning authority had become chaos. Town bullies had become town leaders. In spite of the fact that spokeswomen for each of the 7 matrilineal clans had sworn that there would be no attempts at clan revenge following the killing of the priests, such retaliation had become commonplace. And the popularity of the conjurers had burgeoned. People flocked to them for protection from both known and imagined dangers, dangers both physical and spiritual. And there were some who recalled with dread the final words of the head Kyutani, standing in the doorway, as he stood at the edge of the Temple Mount in Men's Town, his robes ablaze. "It's the end of the world," he had shouted, and some had come to wonder if he had not made an accurate prediction. In Ijadai, even the leaders of the revolution, Idohi, Hemp Carrier, the Spoiler, even these were anxious about the future of the real people. But there was one at least among the real people who was more than content with the way in which things had developed. In Kichawa, the boy Nat had been given back his uncle. But like a pumpkin knew that there were people who still thought that he should be killed. He was the last Kyutani. Well, there was poor Deadwood Lighter somewhere out west, probably still living in miserable slavery with those vile, fierce people. But like a pumpkin was the last Kyutani as far as anyone knew. He was the last Kyutani alive and at home. And constantly he wondered just how much longer he would remain alive. Then there was the rain. The rain had come just behind like a pumpkin, and of course, the reason he and the other 2 priests had been sent to the west in the first place had been to bring back the rain. Many people believed that he had done that. That was one reason, he thought, that he had not been killed. But others explained the rain in other ways. Some said that the blood of all the slain Ani-Kyutani had brought the rain, and some even dared to say that standing in the doorway had been right all along, that his killing of the young woman, Idohi's wife, Cornflower, at the big ceremony had worked, and that Idohi and the others had been impatient and had not waited long enough. Some few maintained that old Ganinthwater, the conjurer from Ijadai, had brought the rain by working some secret magic. Like a pumpkin had gone back home to Kichawa, and he had tried to be quiet and unobtrusive. That, he had decided, was the most likely way to stay alive for a while. Of course, Nat was thrilled at that turn of events. Not only had his favorite uncle returned from the far west, but he had actually returned to Kichawa, not to Men's Town. He was home. And when like a pumpkin had been at home again for a little while, long enough to feel a lit more comfortable, he realized that he was the keeper of a most important secret. All of the Ani-Kyutani who had remained at home were dead. He and possibly Deadwood Lighter were the only ones left alive. Deadwood Lighter had not been a scribe, and that meant that like a pumpkin was the only living being who could write the old writing, the sacred writing. He was afraid to let that be known lest that little secret incite someone to more violence, yet he hated to think that his death would one day mean the absolute and total loss of the writing. So like a pumpkin took Nat with him out of the town of Kichawa, away from any listening ears and watching eyes. For a time they only walked and talked, and they talked of nothing in particular. But at last, like a pumpkin sat down on a knoll with his nephew to rest. The knoll was in an open area, so that no one could come close without being seen. Like a pumpkin looked at the boy there beside him. He was very young, approaching 9 years, to have a heavy burden placed on his shoulders. But like a pumpkin could think of no other way. "Nephew," he said. You know, of course, that I was a priest. Of course. Uncle, said Nat. And you know that if I had not been away when the big fight came, they would have killed me there at Men's Town along with the others. Nat ducked his head and looked at the ground between his knees. Yes, he said. So you know, then, that I must be very careful what I say or do. It would be very easy for someone to become angry and decide that I should be dead with the others. They wouldn't do that. Uncle, protested Nat, desperation showing on his face and in his voice. Not now. Would they? Don't be afraid for me, said Like a Pumpkin. I'm not trying to frighten you. I just want to be sure that you understand I'm in a very precarious position. I have to be careful. Do you understand that? Yes, Uncle, said Nat. Good. Because now I want to tell you something. Something very important. Nat's eyes opened wide, and he listened with all of his attention while his uncle proceeded. I have inside me a great secret. It's a very important thing, but it's also a dangerous thing. I don't want this secret to be lost when I die. It's too important a thing to be lost. Can I tell it to you? Yes, said Nat. You can never tell anyone else. You'll have to keep the secret, just as I do, and someday, very carefully, pass it along to someone else, to some young boy you trust to do the same. Learn it, keep it, and pass it on. Do you understand? I think so. You can't tell anyone, not your mother or your father. No one. I'll never tell, said Nat, and neither will the boy I choose to tell it to someday. I'll see to that. Someday perhaps, when the real people have forgotten the Anikutani, when there is no one alive who remembers them, then perhaps the one with the secret can let it be known again. But that will not be me or you. What is the secret? Uncle. It is a way to write our language. To what? To put down marks that we can read. I'll show you. Like a Pumpkin picked up a stick and drew a figure in the dirt. Remember this, he said. Every time you see it, you say the sound of E. Nat looked at the strange symbol there on the ground. Asterisk E, he said. Then Like a Pumpkin drew another. This one says asterisk Y caret slash, he said. Yeah, said Nat. Yes, said Like a Pumpkin. Lia. He scratched once more the first symbol, and then two new ones. And he gave the values of the new ones to his nephew. Nat tried to put them all together. Lia Eosti, he read. It makes your name. Yes, nephew. And there are many more signs to learn. It will take some time, but when you've learned them all, you will be able to write down anything you can say. And I will be able to read it? Or if I write down something, you will be able to read it? Then Like a Pumpkin rubbed out the marks in the dirt. And every time you practice, he said, you must wipe it out. Never practice where anyone can see you, but find a way to practice every day. It won't be easy when you have to be so secretive. Just always remember, the survival of the writing will depend on you. So Like a Pumpkin found a way to pass his knowledge on, and in his nephew Nat, he found a willing and an eager pupil. Every day they walked together out of the village, and every day they practiced, and Nat each day learned new symbols until he knew them all. And Like a Pumpkin was proud of his nephew, but he was still afraid. Another major event occurred in the life of Like a Pumpkin shortly after his return home. At first no one seemed interested in his adventures. They were all too busy reveling in their own recent success or worrying about the impending doom they had almost certainly brought down upon themselves. But as more time went by, they began to get curious about Like a Pumpkin and his two comrades. Where had they been, and what had happened to them? He was in his sister's house in Kichilwa when the people came that day. Like a Pumpkin, he heard someone shout. Come out. We want to talk with you. His first thought was that they had come to kill him. He considered trying to flee, but there was no way out except through them. There was no place to go. He resigned himself to his fate. If they meant to kill him, well, he would show them that he knew how to die. He stepped boldly outside to face them, but inside his own body, he was trembling with fear. "Like a pumpkin," said one of the men, "when you went away, there were 3 of you." "Yes," said Like a Pumpkin. "Water Moccasin and Deadwood Lighter were my 2 companions." "And why did they not return with you?" "We were captured by some fierce people far to the west," said Like a Pumpkin. "They made us slaves." One day, Water Moccasin ran, and they shot an arrow in his back and killed him. Deadwood Lighter and I were separated. I don't know what became of him, but one day I saw my chance, and I escaped." "How did you manage it?" one asked. "I thought about the story of Rabbit's escape from the wolves," said Like a Pumpkin, "and I imitated him. I sang the rabbit song, and I danced as I was picking up wood. My master watched me with curiosity, and he followed me farther and farther into the woods. At last I clubbed him with a stick, and then I stabbed him with his own knife, and I ran away." They asked for more details. They wanted him to describe the fierce people, and again, they asked him to tell about the escape, the rabbit song and dance. And when Like a Pumpkin realized that they were enjoying his story and that they did not intend to kill him, he too began to enjoy it. He sang the song and he danced the dance as he told the tale, and his audience laughed and applauded and asked him to tell it again. Then one day, they gave him a new name. It was a warrior's name, because it was given to him as a result of his deeds against an enemy, and the fact that none of the real people knew this enemy made little difference. It was a great honor, and for the first time in his life, he did not feel little and funny and insignificant. They looked up to him. They respected him. And his new name was Dancing Rabbit. 2 outside of Ijadai, Edo, he sat on the high hilltop overlooking the town to his right and the road to his left. For a short while after the destruction of Men's Town and the killing of the priests, he had been elated, for he had been the chosen war leader of that successful rebellion. But time had taken its toll, and Edo he had begun to think, not of his great success, but of the terrible loss of his wife and his resulting loneliness. He also thought about the slaughter itself. Bloody images of the assault on Men's Town came back into his mind more and more often. They even haunted his sleep. And over again he saw the image of the final moments of that awful head Kutani, saw standing in the doorway there before the temple, on the mount, his robes aflame, saw the face distorted in agony and terror, heard the final, frightening prophecy of the priest. It's the end of the world. And all of these images, all of these memories, combined with the current events throughout the country of the real people in the mind of Idohi, and they caused him to dread the future. He had begun to wonder if the Ani-Kutani had been right all along, and he was beginning to shoulder a tremendous burden of guilt. He wondered if he had indeed brought about the beginning of the end. Women were fighting with each other over ownership of the garden plots and over division of the produce from the community gardens. They fought also over the division of labor in those community fields. Everywhere people were surly or argumentative. Men still went out to hunt, but often they fought with each other over the rights to hunt in certain areas of the forests. He tried to remind himself of the abuses of the Ani-Kutani, but the severity of those abuses seemed to diminish with the passage of time and by comparison with the current rampant anarchy. It seemed to Idohi that perhaps the tyranny of the Ani-Kutani was preferable to the total lack of authority that had followed. And there were the pressures of his family and the family of his late wife. They all thought that he should marry again. And there was a wife just waiting for him to make his decision. Idohi's wife, Cornilor, had a younger and unwed sister, so he, Hickory Nut. It would be right and natural, they all said, for Idohi to take Sohi as his wife. But the end of the world was at hand, and Edohi was not in a mood to marry. So, as before, he stayed away as much as he could. He avoided all people as much as possible, but especially he avoided his family and his in-laws. And most especially he avoided the young and beautiful, so he sat on the large rock there on the top of the hill. And he looked out over the valley, looking at nothing in particular, and he brooded over all these things, and he was alone in the quiet of the lonely mountaintop. Then he was startled by a voice which came from close behind him. "Edohi," it said, and it was soft and low. Edohi flinched, startled by the suddenness and the closeness of the voice, and then he turned to look, and he saw the withered old man standing there. "How did you get up here?" said Edohi. "How did you get up here?" said Gun in the water. "But I didn't hear anything." "Neither did I." Edohi was exasperated with the old conjurer. He had not wanted company, and he was a little embarrassed at having been surprised so. He also wondered at Gun in the water's physical stamina. He would not have thought the old man capable any more of climbing the mountain. "Why are you here?" he asked, trying, none too successfully, to conceal his irritation. "I came to see you, Edohi." "Why, old man? Don't you know? Do you have eyes? Ears? But perhaps you don't know. You bring your eyes and ears up here where they can't see or hear anything except the birds and the four-legged creatures that scamper around up here with you. Are you joining the four-footed tribes? Have you abandoned your people?" "I don't know what you're talking about, old man," said Edohi, and he turned his back once again to look out over the valley and to hide his own face from Gun in the water. "Edohi," said Gun in the water, "you were chosen." Edohi turned suddenly and fiercely on the conjurer. "Yes," he said. "You told me that before, and I led the fight. I killed all the priests and burned men's town. I did that because you said that I had been chosen." "But chosen for what?"
He killed all
"Look
of them.
around us." "Yes, I have eyes and ears, and I have seen and heard what is happening all over our land. Have I brought about the end of the world, old man? Is that what I was chosen for?" Gun in the water sat down on the rock with a heavy sigh, and Edohi thought that the conjurer looked very old and very weak. He felt a little guilty for having spoken so sharply to one so old and venerable. "Sit down, Edohi," said Gun in the water, and Edohi sat on the ground there in front of the old man, and the old man began to tell a tale. "A long time ago a few of our young men went on a journey to see what they could see. They went a long way from home, far away from the country of the real people, and eventually they came to a place where people called Tsundajwi lived. These Tsundajwi were little people. They stood up only as high as the knees of the real people, and they had no houses. They lived in nests scooped out of the sand. The real people learned to talk to these little people, and they learned that these pitiful little people lived in constant fear. Wild geese and other birds came in flocks from the south to make war on them, and the birds carried them away in great numbers each time they attacked. The real people asked the Tsundajwi why they did not defend themselves against the birds, but the little people said they did not know how. So the real people taught them how to make war clubs."
Okay, let's get to this next item. Secretary of Treasury, them talking about the public lands, sale of public lands. How can y'all sell public lands that don't belong to y'all? Marshall Forrest, I appreciate the cash app. Thank you so much, sis. Dee Dee, appreciate the cash app. This was from yesterday. I did not see the cash app. I forget sometimes, guys. I'm gonna try to remember to look because I definitely appreciate when you guys send me anything. So appreciate it. Okay, let's go. Secretary of the Treasury, the transmission. We'll read a little of this, and I'm going to get into a different document. Give me a second. It's so much. Statement of the land sold in the United States of Ohio, Indiana. Let me make this a little smaller. Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, the territory of Michigan from the 1st of January of 1817 to the 31st of December of 1817, showing all so the amounts and the receipts for the individual and the payments that were made by the receivers during the same time with the balances both due January of 1817 and the 1st of January. This entails everything this small, right? I don't know if it'd be reading so weird sometime. I would go into that, but I wanted to just show you guys. I'm not gonna let it read, but it's showing all. Well, let me go back up a little bit, and then I can zoom in and show you guys. I just want you to see the whole document. Okay, so okay. These are the different towns. It's showing the acres, hundreds of acres, how much acres by the hundreds, how much the charge was by the hundreds. So these people had hundreds and hundreds of acres. So they was so called buying the land, which we know they didn't lie. They didn't buy them. They lying, but this is what they're saying. But these are the estimated values of these lands, like billions of dollars. These people, took from our people. So let's show you a few more. Might as well say stolen lands. Marietta, Zanesville, Jeffersonville, Shawneetown, which we know that's an Indian area or indigenous area. But yeah, y'all see the amounts. Look, it's like crazy. All this stolen land through the BLM, talking about public lands. What public lands? How is it public when it belongs to people? How can it be a public damn land? Like, come on, make it make sense. Okay. West Pearl River and the East Pearl River offices, the different offices, land sold after deducting lands reverted. How y'all revert and deduct the damn land that don't belong to you? This is the shit that's crazy to me. Lands reverted in the hands of received by the 1st of January, in the hands of individuals by the 1st of January. Craziness. Balance. Someone put down, had to pay a balance. Yeah, just showing like, yeah, we just, we did this. We can just do whatever we want. Kill the people off and create a system, right? It's just that simple. More lands. Just, billions and billions and billions of dollars. Like, we ain't got to go through the whole thing, but y'all see it. Billions of dollars. Billions of dollars. Hold on, it skipped. Total sale. All the stock that was received. Yeah, just crazy, right? Let me get to this other one before I get out of here, guys. Hold on 1 second. I don't know, I had it pulled up. Okay, here it is. It's not pulled up, but I can pull it up. Okay, here we go. All right, boom. Commissioner of the Land Office of Maryland. Now, mind you, there's a commissioner of each land office in each particular zone in so-called state, town, so on and so forth. Okay. Seems though eminent domain gives them free reign to do whatever they think. That's what they think. That's what they think. Shit. That's not how it works, though. That's theft. Right, sis? Okay, let's go. So, the Land Office of Maryland, October of 1903. This is a few years before the Snyder Act, a few years before the Banking Act, 30 years to be exact for the Banking Act. This is the report of the Office of Commissioners and the Land Office for the first settlement of the state at the present time. So this is the very first settlement in the state, they're saying, for the first time, and all of what's going on or whatever. But it all, obviously they were, colonizing before this. This is part of whatever paperwork they got going on. All right, we're going to start right here.
Biannual Report. Land Office of Maryland, Annapolis, December 20th, 1905.
I'm going to get a drink, guys. I'll be right back.
Edwin Warfield, Governor of Maryland, Sir, the report herewith submitted embraces the business transacted in the Land Office from the 30th day of September, 1903 to the 1st day of October, 1905, together with such information as to the records and historical material as may be of advantage and use to the owners of real estate, the lawyers, and the student of history. The object and value of the Land Office. The statement of the former commissioner in his last report under this caption is a clear and condensed exposition of the object and value of the Land Office of Maryland, and is herein reproduced. In it are preserved the most important records, documents, chancery proceedings, maps, and other valuable papers collected by the province and state, since the office was created in 1680. The Land Office, therefore, must be considered as the feuilleton and depository of the primitive muniments of title to all the landed property in the state in which respect the surveys returned to, and the patents recorded in it, together with the chancery records, constitute Maryland's Doomsday Book, in which a more accurate description of all the lands of the state is to be found than of the lands in the records of any country whatever. By the Acts of 1780 and 1781, all the lands belonging to British subjects were confiscated to the use of the state, and with these lands Maryland rewarded the officers and soldiers who faithfully served in the Revolution in the Maryland line. The Act of 1781 created a land office for the Western Shore, and another for the Eastern Shore, and placed each of them under the direction and care of a register. In 184 these two offices were consolidated, and the present Land Office was established at Annapolis. By the Constitution of 1851, the Commissioner of the Land Office was created and directed to perform the duties formerly discharged by the Chancellor, Register and Examiner General, and to act as judge in caveat cases. In 1853 the General Assembly passed an act declaring the Court of the Commissioner of the Land Office to be a court of record. The Act of 1862 and the Constitution of 1864 made the Commissioner of the Land Office the keeper of the Chancery records and the anti-revolutionary
Chancery
and
records,
revolutionary.
the true court, the only
papers.
court that's legal, believe it
By
or
the
not.
Constitution of 1867 he was further required to collect, arrange, classify, and keep all papers, records and relics connected with the early history of Maryland. Besides performing the duties required by the acts mentioned, the Commissioner of the Land Office, among other things, has to issue warrants, to furnish copies, to prescribe rules and regulate the conduct of surveyors in making surveys and returning certificates of plats, to examine and pass upon certificates returned to his office by surveyors and to hear, examine, and decide upon all caveats which come before him as commissioner. Warrants by custom, which has ripened into law, and by statute, 6 different kinds of warrants are issued by the Commissioner of the Law Office, whereby the title of the state in its eminent domain is the first process in transferring any part of the same from the state to the private individual or a corporation. The code provides only for the issuing of such warrants as may be called for by name without defining or expressing the nature or applicability of such warrants. There has, however, grown up a well-defined and established difference from the rules and regulations of the Lord Proprietors in the selling and conveying of land, the decrees of Council of the Province, regulations, and custom of the Surveyor Generals, the Chancellors and Commissioners of the Land Office. And as mistakes are frequently made in the applications for the kind of warrants desired, it might not be inappropriate to insert in this report an explanation of the respective warrants of survey. 1. A common warrant affects only uncultivated and vacant land in the county, to the county surveyor of which it is directed. Under this warrant any fraction or number of acres of vacant land may be surveyed and taken up, provided it be all in one body. 2. A special warrant has all the attributes of a common warrant with the addition that under it cultivated vacant land may be surveyed and patented. In the application for this warrant, the applicant giving the name of the county and a description of where he will have it located. A special warrant holds the lands located in the warrant, and his right to survey the same holds good until the warrant is executed or the 6 months' time allowed for execution expires. 3. A special warrant of resurvey, adding vacancy, is applicable where a person has discovered land to be vacant adjoining or contiguous to the land already belonging to him and may include more than one parcel of vacant land, provided it is contiguous law to and adjoins his land. He must give name of tract or tracts and date of patent. This is also a convenient and desirable way of ascertaining and establishing the ancient metes and bounds of his land and consolidating several adjoining tracts owned by the same person into
I've
one
done
tract and
instructions on
patent.
this in the class. If you're
4. A
taking a
special
class, you
warrant
should
of
be
resurvey
aware.
by holding and possession applies where a person
Listen close.
entitled to lands in fee simple and being in possession thereof, or those under whom he claims for the last 20 years, and not desiring to add contiguous vacancy. The manner of proceeding is laid down in the Code, Art. 54, sections 28 to 29. 5. Special warrant of escheat, as its name implies, is for land that reverts back to the state where the owner dies iota estate and without having heirs. In applying for this warrant, the application must state the name, situation, and quantity of the land and the owner of the escheat land and that he died inte state and without heirs. 6. The proclamation warrant affects vacant lot that has been surveyed and a certificate of survey returned to the land office and there laid without the composition money having been paid within a year from the date of the warrant. The first one applying is entitled to this warrant after expiration of the time limit given in which to pay the composition. Composition money is the price of vacant land, and is 50 cents per acre everywhere in the state the vacant land may be
50
found.
50 cents an acre stealing your
Number
people
of
land.
warrants issued since
50
last
cents an
report.
acre.
Common warrants 33 special warrants. 95 special warrants of retinreve adding vacancy. Special warrants of retinreve for holding and possession. 13 special warrants of escheat. 8 special warrants of proclamation for total 162 of these warrants 74 have been executed, and certificates of survey returned to this office. 88 of said warrants unexecuted. 85 patents have been issued, granting 7,360 acres, 1 root and 13 and 19/50ths, 1319 to 50, purchase of land, of which 3,568 acres, 3 roots, and 39 and 1/2, 39, purchase were vacant land. Following is a complete list of patents issued. Se KJDJ Apogee SA.IOES 8 KJ9, J SPOI JS8.I0 VSE COCO VSI equals 2003 JA303, underscore, 037303003 copyright FAO is H underscore dash 303. 03 co 030303 SISI BOP OOAJI dash slash W co 2 co 03 slash 03 P03 co 03 OSO 20000 FA 03 CD.
This shit is backwards too.
Underscore OOOJ L O.
Hold on.
Provide that any extract of any of the above shall be evidenced. Section
all the
51,
evidence right here.
Land Office.
Y'all couldn't hear because it's sideways and I didn't want to go through, but
PJ5PH3S
trust
Q
and
pound
believe me,
MA
girl
remote
got it.
extracts of deeds,
Listen.
mortgages, release of mortgages and lease of real estate.
Thieving
Prior
asses.
to the passage of the Act of Assembly of 1874, Chapter 66, the duties of the Land Commissioner were confined almost exclusively to the issuing of warrants for vacant land, passing upon certificates and all matters pertaining to vacant land. Keeper of the Chancery records of the High Court of Chancery and the anti-revolutionary and revolutionary papers, and under the Constitution of 1867 collector and keeper of all papers, records, and relics connected with the early history of Maryland. This Act of 1874 materially enlarged the scope of the duties of the Commissioner and the clerical force of the office, by providing for the transfer of all books containing deeds and transfers of soldiers' lots, and all other land record books in the office of the clerk of the Court of Appeals to the Land Office, and providing that extracts of all deeds should be sent by the clerks of the several counties and of Baltimore City to the Land Office, and they're indexed and bound. The collection of the title to all the lands in the state at one place has been of inestimable benefit to holders of real estate in tracing title from the first settlement of the colony to the present time. The titles of real estate are thus safeguarded in three ways: by the record in the clerk's offices, the original deed, and the extracts in the land office. Section 51 of Article 35 of the Code provides that a certified copy under seal of the extract of a deed transmitted by any of the clerks of the circuit courts or the clerk of the Superior Court of Baltimore City to the Commissioner of the Land Office shall be evidence if the original deed and record thereof be lost or destroyed, as it is necessary in order to remove any doubt that may arise as to the legal effect of a certified copy of extract of mortgage, release of mortgage, and lease of real estate. To amend this section, it might be well to provide that any extract of any of the above shall be evidence of the original, whether the original record of, or deed, mortgage, release of mortgage, and lease of real estate be lost or destroyed, or not lost or destroyed. Chapter 427 of Acts of 1900 provided for extracts of mortgages, releases of mortgages, and leases of real estate be sent to the land office in the same manner as extracts of deeds. And in this connection the Commissioner respectfully calls the attention of Your Excellency and the Legislature to the necessity of enlarging the provisions of this Act by requiring that certified copies of reports of Commissioners to value and divide real estate of dectants, trustees' reports of sales of real estate in Chancery, and the Orphans Court, and condemnation reports, when finally ratified, be forwarded to the land office. Purchasers under these proceedings are often negligent in procuring deeds, and by conveying without any deed, cause a break in the chain of the paper title. The prompt sending of these extracts to the office is a necessary requirement and the means of making the law effective, and a protection for title papers. The aforementioned Act of 1900, Sector 55, had this promptness in view when the judges of the circuit courts were required to enforce the transmission of extracts, and for a failure to do so impose such fines and penalties as they may provide. The loss of the record offices of St. Mary's, Cecil, Harford, Calvert, and Baltimore counties, with most, if not all, their valuable records, is an object lesson for the strict enforcement of this provision. Dorchester County has hitherto been classed as one of the sufferers of loss of records by fire, but through the search and courtesy of Mr. James S. Shepard, the Deputy Clerk of the Circuit Court for Dorchester County, it can be stated that none of the real estate records have been lost, but are complete. For his next report, the Commissioner hopes to be able to report as to what records are missing of St. Mary's, Cecil, Harford, Calvert, Charles, and Baltimore counties.
They gonna report it really?
The indexes of the extracts of land title which the Commissioner is required to have made are nearly complete for all the bound volumes. The name of the grantor and grantee, and the name of the land, if any, are indexed in separate volumes of indexes for each county and Baltimore City. The reorganization of the clerical force by Chapter 318 of 1900 enables the Commissioner to have this necessary and laborious work done by one clerk, where formerly two clerks were employed at the same work, and were independent of the control of the Commissioner, and not required or compelled to do other work in the office, and at an expense of less than one half of the former cost. Records of the office. The records at the Lund office now embraced in following, being an increase of 70 volumes since the last report. Land office records, proper, 334 volumes. Provincial and General Court records, 145 Chancery records and dockets. 226,669 extracts of deeds. Miscellaneous, Series MS, 1 to 12, 1,788 to 1,823, add indexes 14 vols. Miscellaneous, Series A. G, 1 to 19, 1,792 10 1,812, and indexes 21 Miscellaneous, Series EH, 1 to 35, 1,815 to 1,849, and indexes 25
We're
Allegan
gonna
County,
bypass this
21
part. Hold on,
volumes,
guys.
and 4
It's a
indexes,
bunch of them, but
5
we're gonna go
Cecil,
past them real
14
quick.
Prince
All
Mary's
the
County,
deeds.
8 volumes. In addition to the above, there are a number of extracts
In
unbound,
addition to the
because
above,
not
which is
enough to make
plenty.
a volume. There are also 45,000
Look,
certificates
look.
of survey, and 12,415 bundles of chancery papers, and a very large number of maps and miscellaneous papers.
Hear that again.
71 total. 2,281
71.
appendix number 1 contains a list of the land office books, with their respective contents, etc. In addition to the above, there are a number of extracts unbound, because not enough to make a volume. There are also 45,000 certificates of survey, and 12,415 bundles of chancery papers, and a very large number of maps and miscellaneous papers. Over 20,000 certificates have been jacketed, numbered, and indexed. The jacket showing name of county and tract of land, number of acres, roots, and perches, for whom surveyed, date of survey,
got a lot of them,
when
brother.
returned and examined, when composition money paid, and date.
Hold on, guys. I'll be right back. I gotta take this call.
Also where certificate and patent are recorded, whereby the search and finding of the certificate is rendered easy and a great saving of time. The index gives the name of the tract of land and for whom surveyed, and the number. 3,510 bundles of chancery p.ippers have been jacketed, numbered, and indexed since the last report, making a total of 6,510 bundles of chancery papers now jacketed, numbered, and indexed. Extracts of deeds from Baltimore City and the several counties of the state have been transmitted to this office in compliance with sections 54 and 55 of Article 17 of the Code of Public General Laws, as follows: Allegheny County to March 1903. Anne Arundel County to February 1905. Baltimore County to March 1905. Baltimore City to April 1905. Calvert County. No extracts in this office from 1817 to 1882, excepting from December 5, 1863 to June 1, 1867, and from December 1873 to June 1875. Extracts to May 1904. Caroline County to June 1905. Carroll County to February 1904. Cecil County to June 1901. Charles County to November 1903. Dorchester County to December 1899. Frederick County to August 1905. Garrett County to June 1904. Harford County to November 1904. Howard County to June 1905. Kent County to June 1905. Montgomery County to June 1905.
I want to get to the juice. Hold on, guys. It's different.
Prince George's County, St. Mary's, Worcester County to July, and Arundel to Carroll, Cecil to Howard to June, St. to August, not to April, the military lots. Soon after the close of the Revolutionary War, the legislature of Maryland granted to the officers and soldiers of the Maryland line, for their services in that war, lots westward of Fort Cumberland, and were distributed by lot. A map of these lots and the patented tracts before this distribution in that section, was made by Francis Deacon in 1787, by authority of a resolution of the legislature, and embraced a general survey of the state westward of Fort Cumberland. This map becoming dilapidated by erosion caused by lapse of time and handling, the legislature authorized the making of a copy, which was efficiently done by George H. Schaefer, chief clerk of the land office, some years ago, and which is in a complete state of preservation. There are on these maps 4,165 lots of 50 acres each, besides sundry tracts which had been patented. The clerk of the land office. A complete list of the names of the original owners of these lots by the Revolutionary officers and soldiers, and number of lot is given in a list returned. Schaefer, chief clerk of the land office, some years ago, and which is in a complete state of preservation. There are on these maps 4,165 lots of 50 acres
You
each,
hear? That's a
besides
lot of
sundry
acres.
tracts which had been patented. A complete list of the names of the original owners of these lots by the Revolutionary officers and soldiers and number of lot is given in a list returned to the Land Office by David Lynn and Benjamin Brooks, Commissioners, the 14th of November, 1789, on file in this office.
Peace, brother.
The extreme western section of Garrett County, known as the Glade District, is composed mostly of military lots. The town of Oakland, 56 miles west of Cumberland, is located on a 50-acre lot. All of this section has rapidly grown in wealth and the land correspondingly in value. There still continues to be much litigation in the Land Office the courts over the title of these lots, but it is decreasing as the titles become fixed and settled. Since the decision of the Court of Appeals in Armstrong v. Spittinger, 47 MD Republic, 103, the Commissioner of the Land Office, on an application for an escheat warrant, carefully examines if any escheat warrant has been issued and executed for the same land before issuing an escheat warrant, refusing a warrant if a certificate has been returned for the same and a patent issued, and thus saving the applicant for the warrant the expense of a survey and a possible controversy and suit as to title.
Right.
Although certificates of execution of warrants of escheat are, like other certificates, required to remain subject to a caveat for 6 months after their return to this office, nevertheless, it happens that these lots are not escheat, but the owners are living in distant sections in the state or out of the state and know nothing of the proceedings to escheat. The time for caveat expires and a paytut issues. Valuable timber is then cut off and other damage done to the lots, before, if ever, the legal owner knows of the existence of the patent. And often the patents and possessory title, by the lapse of the 20 years and over, ripens into a full legal title and the rightful owner or owners lose the lot or lots. As a means of modifying and preventing this injustice, it would be well for the legislature to require a notice in one or more of the county papers where the land lies, requiring the applicant for the escheat warrant to give 1 or more months' notice of the application for the warrant before having the county surveyor execute the warrant. The notice giving a description of the land and reputed owner or owners of the same. It is very rare for the commissioner to receive an application for an escheat warrant, except for these military lots. Caveat cases. It has been one of the main objects of the commissioner to dispose of the accumulated caveat cases on the docket. The work in this direction has been necessarily slow in bringing these cases to issue and hearing because of the great labor in preparing the cases. In nearly all locations and depositions have to be made, and to promote the end of justice, the time set for hearing is often continued from time to time. The surveys and depositions entail much labor upon the surveyors and attorneys. 13 new caveat cases have been filed and 12 decided and disposed of, from none of which there has been an appeal. In last report, attention was called to the necessity of shortening the time allowed for an appeal from 9 months to 2 months and failure by the legislature to make the change suggested. The General Assembly of 1904 by Chapter 143 of that session amended the section and made limit for an appeal to 2 months. Rules of the Land Office and Chances. The Commissioner is pleased to report that by Chapter 270 Acts of 1902, the time for surveyors to return certificates sent them for correction has been changed from 9 months to 2 months, thus facilitating the examination and correction of certificates. Also by Chapter 577 of the same session, the sheriffs of the state were made executive officers of the Land Office and required to serve writs, attachments, orders, and notices issued from the Land Office and make returns and to collect all coes and judgments of the Land Office. The same section also provides for the pay of witnesses and the enforcing of their attendance before the examiners and the commissioner in caveat cases. Searches, copies and correspondence. A comparison of the work for the past 2 years with the 2 preceding years shows that there has been an increase in searches, copies and correspondence. Correspondence from October 1, 1903, to September 30, 1905, consisted in writing 2,815 letters, as compared with 2,678 letters the previous 2 years. Copies made containing 547,750 words as compared with 535,740 words for the previous 2 years. Searches made 975, as compared with 905 searches the previous 2 years. These do not include the numerous fee bills made out and mailed. The answer to many letters received involved long and tedious researches and often information as to the law, rules, and practice of the land office. Making copies of the old record is very difficult and tedious, many of them being in Old English text. In many cases the writing
Old
is difficult
English
to
text.
decipher because of illegibility caused
Not
by
English,
erosion,
but Old
time,
English.
and injury
Listen
to the
up.
books in the past by exposure and neglect. Surveys on elder tracts of land and giving of a new name to the land embraced in the new patent.
Name
The numerous
to the
sheets
English
of the
land.
soldiers' lots in the patent name and the large number of patents make searches long and tedious, often requiring a day for one search. The commissioner notes there is an increase of demand on the land offices in tracing title to real estate and family pedigrees. State records in possession of the Maryland Historical Society. Under the provisions of the Act of 1882, Chapter 138, certain anti- and revolutionary records and documents.
Do you guys wonder why they said that the land tracts were in Old English? Not just in English. They didn't say, oh, they're in English. They said that they were literally in Old English. Would you have any idea why all the land tracts would be in Old English? Let's go.
Belonging to the land office were deposited with the Maryland Historical Society and are to be returned to this office when demanded by the state. A list of same will be found in Appendix Number 2. List of will books, testamentary proceedings, original wills and papers of the Prerogative Court of Maryland. Will books, 41 indexes to will books 2 testamentary proceedings 47 indexes to testamentary proceedings. 6 balance books 7 index to balance books 1 inventories and accounts 39 indexes to inventories and accounts 2 inventories 126 indexes to inventories 3 accounts 74 indexes to accounts 2. Original wills 1B 90 indexes to original wills 1 no
Originals.
Of 351
that means some's altered,
no
right?
Original wills 1390. Books, boundaries, and museum. As stated in previous reports, the museum, in accordance with authority from the legislature, has been donated to the Maryland Academy of Sciences and removed thereto. In Appendix Number 3 will be found a list of the valuable original maps, reports of commissioners, and agreements in reference to the boundaries between Maryland, Delaware, Virginia, and West Virginia. Many inquiries have been received from different states in regard to Mason and Dixon's line, showing an awakened interest in this celebrated historical line between the North and the South. Some of the information so furnished is considered of such importance as to be included in the United States Coast and Geodetic Survey of Maryland and adjoining states. Section 5 of Article 7 of the Constitution directs that the Commissioner of the Land Office shall also, without additional compensation, collect, arrange, classify, have charge of, and safely keep all papers, records, relics, and other memorials connected with the early history of Maryland, not belonging to any other office. This provision the efforts and zeal of many preceding commissioners has made the land office the storehouse of many invaluable records, relics, and anti- and revolutionary documents that are a pride to the people of the state and of interest and curiosity to visitors. The collection would have been much larger and more valuable had there been means available for making this collection. The session of the legislature of 1902 authorized the commissioner to use the unexpended balance appropriated for binding records for this purpose, by means of which much good work has been accomplished. Many of the old books and records have been rebound. Over 400 books and pamphlets relating, the history of Maryland, biographies, and sketches of its distinguished sons and heroes, have already been collected and being added to. The original parchment agreement of Richard Thomas Boone and Lord Baltimore, establishing the boundary line between Pennsylvania and Maryland and known as the Mason and Dixon line, has been renovated and preserved by the Emery process of preserving old papers. Is now in almost the perfect condition and legibility as when signed. It is now preserved in a leather case with opening lids and can be inspected without injury. The contest over slavery has made historical this celebrated line, and this document dating from 1760 is one of the cherished possessions of the state for its historical and influential value. Many other valuable documents also need restoring, and preserving AUD should be done as soon as funds are available. Fees of office and composition money. Composition money is derived from the sale of vacant land and is uniformly 50 cents an acre in any part of the state where vacant land is located. Any improvements on vacant land must be paid for in addition to the price of the land. All fees, caution, and composition money are required by the Constitution to be paid over to the state treasurer semi-annually. From October 1, 1903 to September 30, 1905, the Commissioner has received UIDPDD over to the state treasurer. From fees $2,274.18, from caution and composition $2,052.90, total $4,327.14 if the schedule of fees were in proportion to the labor required, and as in other fee offices, the OFFI 3E would be self-supporting.
With the revolution,
formation of counties and tax rate. One St. Mary as the earliest, called in honor of the Virgin Mary,
the revolution was their
having been made on
reconstruction.
the Feast of the Annunciation. 1G37 area 372 square
Me
miles.
too, says the brother took it down. I don't know why.
After English county of that name, by settlers from said county. 1,642 area.
I mentioned his name and his channel,
square miles.
I didn't just try to hijack, but he sent it to me. That was weird.
After Lady Anne Arundel,
weird shit with
wife
me all
of
the time.
Cecilin II Lord Baltimore. 1,650 area. 425.
Let's go through all the land, guys. We're going to just bypass that too.
9 Somerset.
I think I want to get
Prince
to this
George's.
next document in a second.
After Prince George of Denmark.
1,600. I want y'all to see a little bit about what they were doing with this treasury, the oil.
Square miles.
Let's go here.
12 Queen Anne's.
Hold on.
After Queen Anne of England. 1,706 area. 370 square miles.
I'm trying to stop
13.
Okay. We're going to get to this real quick, guys. I want to try to get through a couple of things. I don't want to be on here all day. So I definitely better relax and stuff today. So I'm going to get to this. Let's go. This is talking about the oil and the minerals, the oversight hearings on the royalty in kind for federal oil and minerals. What oil and effing minerals do they even have? Let's get into this and see what they talking about real quick. I want y'all to see this. The nerve.
Lest anyone forget, let me remind you that I represent the state of Wyoming in this body. And my state bears by far the largest portion of any state's cost burden under the so-called net receipts sharing formula, which was codified as permanent law in the Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act of 1993. And by my quick arithmetic, the state of Wyoming has had over $50 million taken from its half of the federal mineral lease receipts since the inception of the net receipts sharing methodology in fiscal year 1991. The cumulative burden upon the states with onshore federal leases for fiscal year 1997 alone is $22.1 million, representing 1/4 of the cost of administering onshore mineral leases by the BLM, the U.S. Forest Service, and the MMS. Without question.
My question is, U.S. government, you're leasing this land for the mineral rights. Where's our portion of the freaking money for that y'all leased it out? Got all this oil, a minimum of $50 million. They talking about for this 1 year. Where's our mineral rights report? Where the freak is the report at? That's what I want to know.
Savings in these administrative costs, which may be realized through efficiency gains such as collecting oil and gas royalties in kind rather than in dispute value.
I want to know if y'all got over $50 million worth of oil right here in America. Why y'all always talking about we fighting for war in Afghanistan for oil? Why the oil prices go up when y'all so-called have a fake ass war in Afghanistan or over here in Europe, China, wherever the hell y'all want to so-called have a fake ass war at? Every time y'all have one of these fake ass wars, y'all mess with our gas prices, running up the electricity, so on and so forth, because they say that's runoff gas, even though we know that's natural as well with the public utilities. Y'all run a game right there. Then y'all had a nerve to try to tell us that, oh, we're fighting for the gallons of oil and they're doing this, but the oil is over here. Shit, all the oil here. What are y'all even talking about? Stop playing with my people's mind, because see, right now, this stuff be really aggravating me. But let's go.
Will reduce the burden upon the states paying the federal government's freight, as well as enrich the U.S. Treasury to the benefit of taxpayers throughout the nation. To my way of thinking, there simply must be a better way to more efficiently collect what is owed to the United States in return for the right to explore, develop, and produce oil and gas from federal lands, more efficient for the feds and, therefore, by way of the net value sharing formula, less burdensome on the states and, yes, more efficient for industry, which must put their money and capital at risk in the first place so there would no income to the federal government or the states. Now, I realize that royalty in kind theoretically looks good, but putting it into practice is not necessarily cut and dry. But should we shy away from pursuing the idea because a particular segment of the industry or perhaps a particular state or two has certain problems with this method? I say absolutely not, nor should we in Congress simply take at face value allegation by folks with a vested interest in the status quo that RIK is a money loser. But we must keep in mind the end goal. Increased efficiency means greater net revenues to all parties involved. I take seriously my job as chairman of this subcommittee.
Well, we're the main party involved. Where's our net revenue?
My purpose then in calling today's hearing is to attempt to set in motion a consensus-seeking effort not unlike that of 2 years ago, which ultimately resulted in the passage of a bill which President Clinton was eager to sign, the Royalty Fairness Act. I understand that there are naysayers within Congress.
Y'all want everything, sis? You mean to tell me you don't want to just jump in and sign on to the Snyder Act and start getting your little stipend, your bride money of $135,000 a year? You mean to tell me, sis, you really want everything, or are you like willing to say, hey, we're not settling for that BS because y'all owe us everything? How y'all gonna give us pennies? Here they go telling you $135,000 a year when you worth billions of dollars, when your net worth, your debt supposedly that's owed to you, that they have been recycling and using and all of that is owed to you, and then now they want to give you $135,000 a year so you can just shut up and they can continue to steal from you, manipulate. Man, stop playing with me.
I have tried to stack the deck in this oversight hearing. I disagree strongly with that assertion, but this will not be the final hearing on royalty in kind. And we will hear from other witnesses in September who may perhaps have fundamental differences over whether or not RIK is an idea worthy of pursuit. Furthermore, I have agreed to our minority's request to have Representative Carolyn Maloney of New York as our first witness today, given the fact that she seems to have an abiding interest in royalty collection. And certainly I share that with you. I welcome you here today, Mrs. Maloney, and now I recognize the ranking member, Mr. Carlos Romero Barcelo, for his opening statement. Briefing paper may be found at end of hearing. Statement of Juan Carlos Romero Barcelo, a delegate in Congress from the territory of Puerto Rico, Mr. Romero Barcelo, thank you very much, Madam Chair, and we appreciate the opportunity to review the possibilities for a royalty-in-kind program in the federal oil and gas leasing program. And it is particularly agreeable to have our colleague, Carolyn Maloney, representative of New York, join us here today. Representative Maloney has indeed shown a great interest in the federal royalty program for several years now.
The federal royalty program. Hold on, I'm going to go up.
Quarterman. However, our experience with the Royalty Fairness Act illustrates this is almost fairness and simplification. Okay. Cynthia Quarterman is aggressively examined. We are pleased to learn, of course, we are interested, and her insight and her comments will be very welcome on this subcommittee. The question of whether the federal government should take its oil and gas royalties in kind presents a lot of interesting possibilities. Of course, we are interested in any option that purports to improve services at a reduced cost. We share the chair's interest in developing more simple, certain, and efficient methods of collecting oil and gas royalties. We are pleased to learn that a group of the independent oil and gas producers, through their trade associations, is working together to develop a royalty-in-kind proposal, just as we are pleased that the Minerals Management Service, under the able leadership of Ms. Cynthia Quarterman, is aggressively examining the question. The oil-producing states too have a valuable role to play in this discussion. However, it is a bit unsettling to hear after aggressive lobbying by the states and oil and gas industry officials, and over the initial objections of the Minerals Management Service, that the Royalty, Fairness and Simplification Act of 1996 that was signed by President Clinton just 1 year ago should be cast aside along with the improvements made to the royalty management program and replaced with an in-kind marketing program. This is almost a 180-degree turn from what the oil industry and states were clamoring for during the last Congress. To a certain degree, I am being facetious. However, our experience with the Royalty Fairness Act illustrates an important factor to bear in mind. We must all be very cautious and extremely deliberative in our consideration of the radical idea of replacing the traditional in-value royalty payment with the royalty-in-kind program. The federal government is the largest single owner of oil and gas resources in the United States.
What?
What would be the consequences of changing the federal role from royalty collector to oil and gas marketer?
Interesting, right?
What safeguards would be necessary to assure that the taxpayers will receive their fair share from the development of our nation's oil and gas resources? Have we adequately considered the consequences of enabling the federal government to dictate market price by virtue of its market power? How would the various segments of the oil and gas industry respond to having the federal government in the oil business? We must know the answers to these and other critical questions before we set about writing and considering legislation. Particularly, one of the great concerns is we are going away from government being involved in many activities, and we are now asking the government to get involved being an oil marketer. That is a very step going away from where we are trying to go in many other areas. I think our experience in Puerto Rico has been that the government's participation in businesses that are most appropriately private enterprise is a bad experience. I think probably the worst marketer in the world would be the government. Because, clearly, if it is not handled correctly, a U.S. royalty-in-kind program could seriously disrupt the domestic petroleum markets. So we must move slowly and carefully to fully examine this idea.
They something else, ain't they? What y'all think about this? Like, I know the chat, you guys are hearing this information. Is this making sense? Do you guys hear them talking about the royalties that you never, it said the taxpayer's royalty. You're the taxpayer, right? You were born into their system as a taxpayer. You don't have to owe taxes, but they consider you a taxpayer, right? So if you're born into their system as a taxpayer, then those royalties would be to you, right? Like your ancestors used to collect. Remember those little blue and green checks? But yeah, remember that. So now they siphoned it and you're not really seeing any of that shit. Like, yeah, let's get into this next document. I want you guys to hear one of the statements. This is the statement from the claimants of the bark in Hiawatha and the cargo and things that were coming in, so on and so forth. Get a little information on this and we're going to be out of here in a second. Let's go.
Fujit. Tub of TIIE United States statement. This cause comes up by appeal from the decree, in prise, of the Circuit Court, in and for the Southern District of New York, affirming the decree of the District Court, which condemned the bark Hiawatha and her cargo for breach of the blockade of the ports of Virginia established in pursuance of the President's proclamation of April 27, 1s61. The vessel was clearly British, and the cargo, upon the preparatory proofs, though regarded by the district court as open to suspicion as to its neutral character, was claimed as British, and condemnation passed wholly on the ground of breach of blockade. The vessel sailed from Liverpool to Richmond, Virginia, and reached Hampton Roads April 23, 1861, where she was detained for want of a pilot, but made her way, notwithstanding, up the James River, and completed the discharge of her cargo on the 10th of May. She commenced on that day lading for an outward voyage, and on the 15th of May, by working night and day, she had taken in a full cargo of cotton and tobacco. She was ready for sea on the 16th of May, but there was no steam tug in port to tow her down the river. At 6 o'clock p.m. on the 17th, she was taken in tow by the steam tug David Curry, but she had not power enough, and the Hiawatha came to anchor again. On the 18th, at 6 o'clock a.m., she was taken in tow by the steam tug William Allison, and towed down the river. Deposition of John Ballantyne, master, and Thomas Potts, owner, in preparatorio. Record, false. 58, 59, 60, 65, 76, 77.
All this
Extract
transport,
from
all
Vessel's
within the
Logbook
United
and Journal.
States.
False.
Nowhere else.
117 to 122. The vessel was captured in Hampton Roads, off Fortress Monroe, at 10 o'clock a.m. on the 20th of May, by the flagship Minnesota. There were a number of our ships of war in sight at the time of the capture. The Hiawatha was first brought to by a gun from the steamer Star, and was boarded by an officer from her, who made an endorsement on her register, and ordered the captain to heave to when he came abreast the flagship, then about 3 miles distant. The Minnesota fired 2 guns before the Hiawatha was brought to and boarded. The master says, I was steering, when taken, for the proper channel to get clear of the waters of Virginia. I was bound for Liverpool. The vessel was made prize and sent into New York for adjectivification. Record, false. 55, 56, 62, 68. The master and owner say, in their examination, that they did not know at the time or place of capture, or have notice, that the place or port was in a state of war with the United States, or that the naval forces of the United States held such port in a state of blockade. Put the owner adds, I don't mean to say but that we heard that there were difficulties existing between the North and the South, but we heard of no actual war existing, or of any actual collision between the parties. We had no knowledge of war, no knowledge of blockade, but a rumored report of existing differences between the North and the South. These rumors were talked at City Point, Richmond, and Petersburg. I also saw it in the papers of Virginia, but we saw no northern papers. This was during the month of May previous to our departure. Record, FA. 0382. The answer of the owner seems not to deny the blockade, or notice of it, but questions its being a legal blockade. Record, blocking people from porting. 23 just taking control of the ship's papers on board was an official certificate of the British consul, showing full knowledge of the blockade, and of its effective establishment, and claiming an authoritative communication, to the effect that neutral vessels would have 15 days to leave port after the actual commencement of the blockade, whether such vessels were with or without cargoes, whether the cargoes were shipped before or after the commencement of the blockade, and certifying that this had been immediately communicated to the captains of British merchant vessels, and to others interested in British trade. The certificate states that the best information attainable pointed to May 2nd, as the date of the actual blockade. So this is when they were blocking, taking over the ports, trying to keep people from trading. Remember, we read how they said they would not allow the Indians to trade. Oh, y'all can't trade. We don't want y'all trading, y'all can't do that. Kind of blocking them from being able to make funds and do anything on their own land, right? Where's this other document I want to get to? Where is it? I just had it pulled up. Hold on, guys. Really? No, I don't see it. Hold on. What's it? No, not there. Oh, wait, I gotta find it. I think I pulled it up in a different window. Let's see. I don't see it. Where did I put it? Damn it. Maybe it's meant for me to take my break now. Dang, I had something else I wanted to show y'all on the last document before I got out here. Now I don't see it. Oh, there you go. See, I was about to go. Okay, so boom. Let's get to this real quick before we go.
Hold on a second. This thing acting stupid. Open up. Come on. Okay, there we go. All right. This is one of the bills from the staff of the Secretary of, in the White House. This is a White House document from the staff secretary, and it's talking about the trust land for Bridgeport Indian Colony in California, right? Okay, let's get into this real quick. And there it is, it's up. Okay. It's talking about the acquisitions. 1974, as recent as 74, they still discussing trust lands for the Indians. They don't say, and notice, I want you guys to see, it does not say Native American lands. I want you to see that it says Indian colony, the Indian colony, not the Native American reservation, not the Native American colony or anything of the sort. I was just in Korea because I'm not in the mood. I gotta read something though. It says, "Dear Mr. Ash, this responds to your request for our views of the enrolled bill S 283 to declare that the United States holds in trust for the Bridgeport Indian Colony certain lands in Mono County, California." Now, when you understand that it says to declare the United States holds in trust, they are under a wardship of the United States. They are under wardship of the United States. That's the same thing that's happening with you. The only difference is they have the fake natives on the reservation lands. As they're on the reservation land, you are out here operating with your trust by signing your information and giving your signature for other people to take from you. That's the only difference, right? But because you still have the trust that's under your indenture, but they are actually taking the control over it, so on and so forth. Let me check with you guys real quick, see who's coming in. So yeah, this is kind of what's going on, okay? Yep, making you come through them. Understand now, sis? Yes. So they have the power, they basically have the power of attorney over you. They have power of attorney over you. You are a ward under them. When you go in, everyone that wants to keep doing this Snyder, you want to go in, you're going to be doing the same exact thing that we're going over. You're going to be, this has been out. I keep telling people this Snyder is nothing new. We've been reading this information for months before they even talked about it. So when it comes to it, you guys got to understand when you do this, all you're doing is signing up for a wardship. You're going under the wardship of these people. When you sign this, you are going to be under their construct. Whatever they say goes, this type of thing. The declaration is for the United States to continue to hold in trust for the Indians, their lands, and their resources. And when you sign the document going under the United States Corp and their documentation, you're signing the contract to say, yes, you continue to rule over me. Yes, you control my trust. You just siphon out to me my allowance and make sure that, I'm doing good. So that's what they're trying to do. And if you don't understand the clarity of that, there's something wrong. You will need to have your shit set up, like literally foundation of your standing in law, your trust, and everything you need to have up under your trust. So you're assuming a role. That's why I was reading you guys the information on the deeds and trust and things, having everything surveyed on the land. Listen, I've gone over all this stuff tons and tons of times. I hope you guys are getting this. So it's so important for you to have this trust set up before you go into this. So now when you do go into it, once you've got the accuracy of documentation and setting yourself up, now you are able to go in and have the control over the trust, removing their fiduciary responsibility, because you no longer want the United States to hold the trust in wardship for you. You want to control it. You don't want to siphon up $135,000 a year. You might say, I need a house that's $300,000. I need my trust to just go on and pay for that. Why the hell you gonna wait for them to send you a stipend of $135,000 that you got to save the whole year just to have that down payment when you can control your own trust? You want to let these people keep controlling you? I don't know if y'all really getting this shit. I'm really about tired of talking. There's going to be two things I'm doing. I'm doing two classes. One is going to be for you to just go on and do this. One is going to be for you to get your trust, set it up, and then go through the entire application. Make sure you're walking through it, making sure you're defining the application, which is the contract to your term, and making sure you are taking the control and the rulership over it. So it's two things. You can do whatever you want to do. By the end of next week, this is what's going on. So I don't know what to tell you. So let's keep it moving. It says that we recommend that the president approve the enrolled bill. Of course they do. This would declare that a certain 40 acres of public domain land in the Mono County, California, be held in trust for the Bridgeport Indian Colony, subject to an assessment by the Bridgeport Public Utility District, which we talked about public utilities, because they would automatically get the public utilities being under the construct of the government, because that goes under the Public Utilities Act and the assistance that's due to all of the public, right? Okay, this would be for the sewer main, and the track lies at an elevation of approximately 6,500 feet above the level. The terrain varies from flat to rolling. The soil is primarily coarse texture, that is alluvium, and vegetation consists on a dense stand of short sage. There has been no recent mineral activity in this particular general area, which leads you to understand and know that there's mineral activity that they have documented. They haven't found any in this area, but the information that is documented in this general area, right, it just doesn't have any there. But they have the documentation of all the minerals in the area. We went over that last week as well. The land is on a gravel road, and it's considered a good location for home sites. All utilities are available. Yes, they are, public utilities. The land is estimated to have a fair market value of $7,500, including nominal mineral value, nominal mineral value. So it does have some mineral value, but it's not very high. To our report to the City Committee in Interior and in Insular Affairs, dated on October the 17th, we recommended that against the enactment of that bill, however, after a review of the merits of this particular case, we believe that it is sufficiently distinguished by its facts so as to meet our previous objections and direct the change in our original positions, right? Giving you a background on the Bridgeport Indian colony that consists of approximately 65 persons from 20 families who are descendants of the Indian groups which originally occupied the Bridgeport Valley lands in the 19th century. The colony is now a federally recognized Indian entity because they colonized it, took over the land, as they just showed you and told you, and made it what they wanted it to be, putting them in the colony and putting them under wardship of the United States. As with other similar Indian groups in California, Bridgeport colony members depend upon the welfare and the wage work in the town and the surrounding areas to earn their livelihoods. The economy of the area is based on ranching, which some lumbering and recreational enterprises. The colony members live in several substandard dwellings. They're living in substandard dwellings, even though they have all this wealth, on approximately 5 acres of 160-acre privately owned tract. Okay, a land patent for the 160-acre tract was issued to a non-Indian in 1914 by the General Land Management Office. Now, how do they do this? If this is ceded and allotted for the Indians, here they go. Here's the theft. They put it in a non-Indian man's hands. The predecessor of the Bureau of the Land Management, pursuant to the Desert Land Act of 43 U.S.C. Section 321, established of the section. The patent was issued on the basis of an affidavit that was submitted by the patentee, which means he lied, that the entire 160 acres were unoccupied, and specifically that no Indians were living on the land. Well, how would they not be occupied when the government has a tract of these people being on the land? Must have been a good friend of theirs, huh? Yeah, let's read on. Part of the tract was, in fact, occupied by Indians. Well, you don't say. They know because they put them there. Didn't they just say they planted them there? Listen to this BS. Y'all hear this shit, right? The Bridgeport Indians had been allotted to live on a small portion of the original tract in the early 1968. One of the owners demanded that they vacate the site and initiated eviction proceedings. You hear this shit? Legal interventions by the California Indian Legal Services kept the eviction proceedings in abeyance until the owner learned of the congressional attempts to legislation and a solution. The owner then agreed to cease the eviction proceedings pending the outcome of the congressional resolution of the matter. You hear this? Another portion of the Indians' home site is currently owned by an elderly woman who has given permission for the current occupants to remain. However, it is unnecessary as to whether their heirs would extend such permission. You hear this shit? It's their land, but they've taken the deed and corrected it, put something in there and said, hey, it's a vacant lot and we taking it. Here come these damn settlers settling a broke dumb ass on the land and evicting people, right, off of their stuff, their heirs' property. Okay. The financial condition of the Indians is such that they cannot now finance and purchase of building sites and the construction of new homes. They are faced on an emergency situation which cannot be alleviated or resolved by state and local programs and services, right? The 40 acres, here goes that 40 acres in the muse. You guys get it. Here's the 40 acres in the muse you hear about all the time as well. That the Section 283 would declare as trust lands are located approximately 1/2 mile from the Indians' present dwelling place. Now, how is this when it's their present dwelling place that has been established? They saying that they can come in and say it was an abandoned property. Does that make sense to you guys? It don't damn make sense to me. I think I'm ended on here, guys, and get ready to get out of here. I appreciate everyone that come in. Let me get to the chat, check with you guys, get out of here. Yeah, dodge the hijack for these people with they demonic evil asses. Because we see it. We see all the truth. Okay. Yep. Yep. Do it all over. Do it. Let's do the same trick and thievery that we did before. Shit, it worked then. It's gonna work now, y'all. Let's just do it again in a different way and figure it out and all that stuff. Yeah. Is that something you assist with, sir? What do you mean, truth be told? Put it in the chat, sis. Is it something I assist with? Is what something I assisted with, sis? Just to verify. I'll put my email in the chat. Reach out to me if you want to go more in depth. More than likely, whatever you're talking about, yes. Let me see. All right, there's my email, sis. Just reach out to me and we can chat. Yep, affidavit of ownership, handling your business the proper way, getting your deed, get your land surveyed that the owners of the property actually have. She said she working on, yes, working on it. Yep, I do all of that. If that's what you're talking about, truth be told, I do the trust, everything, the indentures, setting everything up. Exactly, unoccupied, but they evicting somebody. They got the effing nerve. Tell me these people ain't nuts. The nativity of Mary is paying for nothing. Exactly, sis. They're paying for nothing. Period. Tired of these people. They gotta go. They gotta go. They gotta go. Oh, you know what? Before we get out of here, it's almost 3 hours. Because this finna be no work for me. I gotta play some of the video the brother did last night. The brother went in on video. Y'all got to go over there and watch the video. I'm gonna drop the link to the video as well. I want you guys to please go over there, watch the video, thumb it up. Show we about to get my brother popping because his info is definitely fire. I don't know why they keep playing with him, but yeah. We about to get him get this information. He did something on the flower moon. All the stuff we've been talking about. This movie. Somebody else told me about that. I said I gotta watch it, and he did this video. I said, oh, I damn sure got to go watch it now because, yeah, the proof is in the pudding, and the brother went through it, and I am definitely gonna check it out. So when I check it out, you guys will get a full. He went thorough, obviously. So, oh man, it said they took his video down. It says unavailable. Oh wow! They took the video down that me and him did on my channel, and now they took his video down. Is you serious? Let me see. I had it up on another screen. Let me see if it's still up. Whoa, that's crazy. That's crazy. Let me see. Nope, it's not on here. Dang. I hope I can find it real quick, y'all. Hold on. Let's see. Because I sure had it up earlier and I was watching it. I'm like, oh man, I didn't even get to watch the whole thing. Now I'm pissed. Let me see. Dang, this ain't it either. Nope. Mm, mm, mm. Let me see if I go into history, if I can find it. Let me go back on YouTube history and see if it's showing because I did watch it. It may be in my history. That's crazy. It says unavailable. Yep, it's unavailable. Took the boy video down. That's crazy. I literally was just watching it this morning. I was gonna show you guys a little bit of it, tell you guys to go over there and hit it, but I guess that's a wrap for that. I don't even know what happened. Here's the video he did. Dang, I can show y'all a little of this since they took it down. Hold on. Let's do that. Cause I had to put it under members only just so I could save the video. I couldn't even find it. I had to find it deep dive. Hold on, guys. Um, let me get to some of the info. This thing loud. We'll play a few minutes of this going out, guys, because unfortunately this is the one they blocked, but I'm still about to play some of it. I think they blocked it because I put the information on the Crystal Cave in there. They ain't like that shit. They ain't like that. Let's see. Right here.
I was so profoundly impacted by chemistry because I started to see like this is how they built their artificial matrix. This is how the drugs and they just start to rename things, give them different names. And that was like I said, this is the madness of it all, right? So you talk about the Food and Drug Administration, you look at Coca-Cola's history. I believe the guy's name was I forget what his name was. When he started it, it was mostly cocaine and sugar.
And sugar, bro, I'm about to say, and the sugar. Listen, come on. It tastes, I never, when I was a kid, I remember tasting it. It was like, it burnt my throat. That was first off. I remember when I tasted the first thing, it turned me off because it burnt my throat and it was so sweet. It was like sugar water. I'm like, oh, it was disgusting. But I'm sorry. Yeah, that's crazy.
Because it was a hormone. Now, mind you, they had to figure it out. Chemically, they had to understand that how do they control this hormone? Because this is why I go out often to saying that this is one of the reasons why alcohol was outlawed first, because it was a powerful hormone. It was more powerful than just sodas. So they understood that. Now think about this. If I'm lying, I'm flying. Think about how powerful this is. It was powerful because alcohol had an impact on, it turned your endocrine system inside out, but it was the only drug that was part of that became a constitutional amendment. They outlawed it with the 18th Amendment. It is the only amendment to be repealed by the United States government by the 21st Amendment. Then alcohol was made legal by the 21st Amendment. So they love the numbers 18, 21, all this different stuff, because they made it legal in 1933. They had it outlawed for a while.
Brother, and just to touch on that for us Aboriginal Indians, whatever you classify yourself as. Now, the ardent spirit, they had the laws for outlawing it through ardent spirit. It was called ardent spirit. This is why when you see them, it says wine and spirits. It lets you know they still got to let you know that it has spirits in it, which is a whole nother issue. I don't want to get off, but I wanted to mention that spirit being wine and spirits because of the spirit, the energy that's in it. And they know, just like the brother said, that energy is what? It's a false light, guys. You know how we talk about the radium and the rathium? That energy is just like the real energy is for us. It's a false energy. Just as why it causes this ease and everything within us. Go ahead, brother. I just wanted to say that because it definitely is. They stopped it and outlawed it because they were killing so many Indians. The liquor, they called it ardent spirits at the time, was killing so many indigenous. They had to outlaw it. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, they actually listen. We mastered chemistry a long time ago. Remember, we said that chemistry is the study of carbon. When you put carbon and hydrogen together, you make something called hydrocarbons. You know what hydrocarbons are? Oil and gas. Oil and natural gas. Now, I did a segment on this, and this is going to tie full circle because like what we're saying is you have to, the name of the book is The Untold Story of the Carbon Baby. The Untold Story of the Carbon Baby. Now, what you have to understand is carbon, like we said, it bonds with other elements and stuff, and it makes different organisms. That's what's very important. Different organisms and metals and all of this different stuff. It is the building blocks of life. So I'm gonna show you and prove to you that we had, a knowledge of these things at the God.
Brother, when I tell you I was so frustrated, I looked everywhere. I'm like, why can't I find it? I went to the private link that I sent out to people. No, I'm lying, not a private link. I went to the link I sent to him. I sent him the link prior so he could share on his page. So the link, it was the YouTube link, the actual link. So I went to the link, it opened up, and I'm looking like, okay. So I went to my page. I'm like, I found it. I said, so it's not gone. So why is it showing that it's blocked? So some say go to your studio. So I went to the studio. I was looking through it wasn't showing. Like it'll show all your recent videos on your in your studio. It was not showing. So it was something on the side. I can't remember. It's something on the side of the thing. You could click and it'll say like, I think analytics maybe. It say something. And when you click on that, it goes to the videos. So I seen the video. I'm like, let me switch it to members only. As soon as I switched it to members only, when I went back to my page, it was showing. I was like, wow, they wanted it blocked. But yeah, that's okay. You're right, brother. I saved this because, yeah, definitely got to go through this again. Let's go and get back to it.
Like level. Now, everybody's familiar with Tulsa, Oklahoma, right? Shouts out in the chat if you're familiar with Tulsa, Oklahoma. Now,
Yes,
what sister, what do we always hear about Tulsa, Oklahoma? We hear,
the bombing. No,
Look, I'm
that's the first thing they say.
Yeah, they always antagonize.
And then the reservations.
Listen, but one thing they tell us all, we had doctors, lawyers. So two things about this, right? They said we had doctors, lawyers, dentists. We had, this thriving economy. The dollar circulated 60 times before it even left the community. They talk all this crap, but I'm thinking to myself, like, you got to remember, Tulsa was destroyed in 1920, correct? That's what they said through the riots.
That's right.
They said slavery ended in 1865. Do the math. If niggas couldn't read, how they become doctors and lawyers?
Just that dang quick, man. They must look. You talking about some Superman genius around here? Yeah, bro, that part.
Yeah, obviously, I can't for that. We know that. But like you said, what's the likelihood, right? So this is the thing. One thing that they don't tell you about Tulsa, Oklahoma, this shows you that we connected to our chemistry, because remember, chemistry is a study of carbon. One of the big chief constituents of the carbon industry is hydrocarbons, which is gas, oil, and crude oil and all that different stuff, right? So do you know that Tulsa, Oklahoma was called, and this is not of the United States, Tulsa, Oklahoma's nickname was oil capital of the world. Oil capital of the world, not oil capital of the United States, oil capital of the world. Our brothers and sisters will have barrels of oil on a porch. That's how much oil was overflowing.
And you know what, brother? This is why they tried to, oh man, something you just said. Oh man, let me hush for a minute. It'll come back. I want to say something what you said.
So they knew that, like you talking about, when you talking about reparations for Tulsa, Oklahoma and all this different stuff, you can't even, there's nothing you can give, because when you're talking about oil, this is what runs. Remember, the energy sector is the largest sector on the planet. If you ain't got no energy to run your business, if the lights don't come on, the heat don't work, or the AC don't work, you're not running no business. You see what I'm saying? So, but when we go back to what we're saying, let's go back and go full circle when we're talking about this carbon and these sugars and stuff. So we knew that, just from a small example in terms of what we could do externally, that what we knew about these chemicals were that they were hormones. So when you have the sugar, when you have what they call proteins and fats, these are nothing but sugar in a different state. Because remind you, all the precursors, or precursor just means what it is before it turns into something. All the precursors to sugar, fats, and proteins, or complex carbohydrates, are something called simple sugars: glucose, fructose, and galactose. You know what I'm saying? It might be a couple other simple sugars, but when they bond with each other, then they make something called disaccharides, or two sugars. And then disaccharides make polysaccharides, or many sugars. So what's interesting is, what we have to understand is that, why do you call it sugar, and he and his labs call it polysaccharides, disaccharides, and monosaccharides? Because he knows something you don't. He knows something you don't. Just like when if you ever go to the hospital, he'll be like, hand me about a teaspoon of sodium bicarbonate. You're like, oh, this Blanco sound intelligent. He ain't say nothing but baking soda. But he can't use the layman terms in the doctor's field, because he got to act like, to you, he know what he's talking about. He got to act like, to you, I'm intelligent. And then you'll be looking at this Blanco. Oh, the Blanco told me, he said 2 cups of sodium bicarbonate. You need baking soda? Nigga, shut your dumb ass up. You don't know what you start exposing this Blanco for his pettiness. And like you said, he go off around these crystals. We don't know what we're looking at. As you showed in the video, he act like we don't know. It's a mystery to us. No, it's not. The more he learns about crystals, have you ever understood? Think about this, brothers and sisters. Have you ever noticed that the more this Blanco learns about this earth, the angrier he gets at you? The more he learns about this earth, the angrier he gets at you.
That jealousy, whoo, is something else.
The faster he tries to eliminate you. You see what I'm saying? So this is extremely important for us to understand, is that he knows what those crystals are about. He knows why they formed. He knows that we form crystals. It's the basis of our being, of our organism. He knows all about that stuff. He's not a fool. He's not. It's because he knows those things that makes him so aggressive. It's because he knows those things that make him such a monster. It's because he knows those things that makes him such a
I told a story a couple years ago about her, and someone came and did a build on it and broke it down some more, but she was white. She was a white girl. She was labeled white. This is why I keep telling you guys, white is landowner. Nobody can tell me anything different. White means you are the landowner, the landlord, the lord of the land. That's what the description is in the Black Law Dictionary, the 8th edition. You can go look for yourself. It tells you that white means simply landowner. Has shit to do with race. It means you had the royalties, you had the rights, you were the owner. Okay. So Sarah Rector, yes, she was a little young girl, and her father and them owned all of this oil. When they died, she was the heir to it. She was a young girl, like 16 years old. She was a billionaire. They even married her off to the white tycoon, the white oil tycoon. That's how they got all of her oil. They married her off to the white oil tycoon. He became the tycoon behind her oil because she had billions in oil. She didn't have any heirs. She had no children, not one child. This shit is crazy. She had no type of will or trust set up, obviously, for her other family members, where she could have left it for like cousins, things of that nature. She didn't know no better, you know. But yeah, took all of her stuff, just like Mary Ellen Pleasant, and taking all of her gold and starting, or the beginning of the Federal Reserve, just like they took her great great niece is golden cells, right? When they took her cells, Henrietta Lacks. I did a build on that if you guys haven't seen it. Henrietta Lacks was the great niece of Mary Ellen Pleasant, who had all the gold, and they took all Henrietta Lacks golden cells. I think that's what I named the title of the build. So yeah, everything that's it's all us, guys. It's all us. It's all us.
So he's not ignorant. He's feigning ignorance. Okay. Leonard Peel, yeah. They knew what they was doing. The FDA knew what they was doing. Toothless organization running around like a watchdog. And you know what's so crazy is the FDA doesn't regulate supplements, these all natural supplements and stuff, because they know that's where, you know, when you go and try to make this transition of this change,
she was indigenous.
What happens is they get ahead of it.
Let me clarify. I don't know if somebody thought I said something different, but just to clarify, she was indigenous. I said she was an indigenous girl that was classified as white. Her classification was white. Just to clarify, her classification was white legally. She was recognized as a white person, which means, again, landowner. It only means landowner. It means the person that has the rights to the royalty, the actual landlord, the landowner. Yes, I said that in the beginning. So I hope y'all hear me. Please don't misunderstand nothing I say, because I made that clear. She was indigenous. This clarifies that being white has nothing to do with race, because she was indigenous and she was classified as white because she was the one and only indigenous billionaire, oil tycoon. Yeah, that part. Same thing with Mary Ellen Pleasant. She was the gold tycoon, and she was indigenous as well. The gold tycoon, and she was a bright-skinned, beautiful one. They called her the voodoo queen. because she was helping everybody get these people freeing them from the South. All the abolitionists was coming to her saying, Mary, they got these people down south, they got them slaved, they done took our people land, they slaved them up, they burned them up. She give them like $100,000. Go down there and take care of that. Go down there, take an army, get this. How many people? How much you need to get hire? How many people? Yeah, that's what Mary Ellen Pleasant was doing. Yeah.
See, I swear on everything I love, sister. My sister called me earlier today, right? And I thought something was wrong. She was like, "Hey, Rue," she said, "Guess what I found?" I thought she found Bigfoot or the Yeti or something. She was like, she said, "I found some grapes with some seeds in them."
Amazed about some seeds, grapes, Lord.
Because we can't find them.
You ain't lying.
They don't want to give us the seeds.
Ain't that sad that you can be amazed about finding something natural that's a bro? It's just it's absurd.
It's absurd because they are the father of the lie and confusion. Listen, this is what have you ever heard of what they say something like grains, right? Grains. We hear grains all the time. We're like, oh, grains. We think about rice and all this different stuff. Grains are not actually grains, they're seeds. You can take brown rice right now, put some water in it, put it in the dirt, a plant's gonna pop out of the ground. Rice is a seed.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? Fruit is the ovary of a female plant. You see what I'm saying? So you got these, even people, we do this without even knowing. You got people who, may send an emoji to their girlfriend in the form of a eggplant, like that means a big penis size. That's the ovary of a female plant. See, this how far we are from, you know what I'm saying? Real talk though. But this how far we are from these sort of things. This what should be common knowledge. You see what I'm saying? So, but he misnames things because he calls a hormone a vitamin. He calls seeds grains. He does this on purpose.
Everything backwards. I keep telling everything is backwards, upside down, inside out, and backwards.
And should we hold them accountable for this type of deception, for this level and depth of deception? So when we know the science, so when people say, "Hey, Rue, you talking about Blancos? You seem like you're a little bit divisive. It's not about black and white. It's about coming together." Oh, they weren't saying this when they felt like their empire was coming to an end. When nobody talking this all come together, let's be a part of a utopia sort of mess. It's only because you see yourself at the verge or the precipice of extinction. But we've been at that verge and we've been at that precipice of extinction ever since we ran into you. So ain't nothing new for us. You see what I'm saying? And Hyde says wild rice, black seed is the best. Yeah, because it's seeds. These are seeds. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, they modify these seeds. And what do they do when they modify these seeds, these grains called seeds? They take all the nutrients out of them. White rice, white flour, white this, white that, white Jesus.
Okay, listen, taking the nutrient out of Jesus. No. Putting the hook in it, bro. They take that J. That I be telling them that J. They go that hook, man. Got you. They got you hooked. They take it right in the back of your damn head, right there. Hook your head in. Now they got your brain. You tapped in and tuned in to that frequency, man. Oh man.
Yes, it is. It is like all of this is profound because we didn't people didn't have diabetes for the 80s. Yeah, it was rare at that time, as well as childhood cancers. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Because that growth. See, the sugar's job, this is one thing you got to realize. When you take in sugar, its job is to bond with other sugars to create hormones. Even if I got to give some more scientific information just to let people know that what I'm saying is legitimate, you have obviously the adrenal glands is not a part of your endocrine system, but the adrenal glands, like the liver, like the gastrointestinal tract, and like your adipose tissue, secretes hormones. All right. One of the hormones of the adrenal glands, it comes from the adrenal cortex, and they're called mineralocorticoids and glucocorticoids. They make hydrocortisone from your glucocorticoids, from your adrenal cortex or your adrenal glands. We've all heard about adrenal. I don't want to say the last one because I don't want to trigger YouTube, but that blood that they take from young people, right? Yes. You see what I'm saying?
I talk about it, bro. I sure do.
Are you saying
yeah, sure do.
Word? Okay, I ain't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you good. Let's go.
This is made from the sugar.
This
is why, like you said, vampires, when they drink the blood, they have this like orgasmic reaction and all this because sugar is a hormone. Okay, and we know that this hormone is responsible for vitalizing what we call plasma inside the blood. 60% of our blood is plasma. And anybody knows if you ever go donate your blood, they'll give you your blood back. They want the gold called plasma.
Yeah.
That's what they want. That's what these beings are down here for. They here. You always heard, oh, they're down here for the gold. It just so happens
That
that
is the gold, the
that
liquid
is gold.
gold.
And it's yellowish. It's just like gold, the color of gold. But see, we
Yep.
thinking they digging some gold in the ground. First of all, there's no such thing as what you seen in Hollywood as no gold bars. Gold does not even come out the earth like that. Gold comes out in the ore. They have to chip it off something that's it attached to, because nothing on this planet just bonds with itself except carbon. This is what's so deep about carbon. Nothing can bond with itself and make a diamond like carbon can. So carbon, this is why it was used, or the godlike energy. This is what we mind, just because we named it, we still don't know what it is. But this is the godlike energy the Most High used to create this realm we see around us, because it has stable bonds, and it bonds just strong enough to make bond, to share. That's called covalent bonding in chemistry. But then it doesn't, make bonds so strong to where it won't allow itself to be released. Like, oh, cool. All right, you don't want to be with me? I'm good. You want to go there? You can go there. And then it's the nature of our people. We just a bond with anybody. Quick to call other nations brother, sister. We're quick to do these spiritual bonds. Okay? Because it comes from our chemical bonding nature. And this is deep. This is one of the reasons why you see black people always ready to save somebody else besides themselves. You see, because it's in our nature and they exploit that. But everybody else, they make what's called ionic bonds. That's the nature of them. When they grab something, they don't let it go. Nigga, this is mine, all mine, my ball. I'm going home. You know what I'm saying? And that's the nature of every other group. They take something, snatch it, and claim it for their own. But we got to reclaim that. We got to take that back, because this plasma is important. They may call it many names and stuff. We call it plasma for the most part, but it's this fluid that is made, or it is accelerated and amplified by what you call sugar, which is a crystal. Okay. And like I told you, I invite you to go take a look at vitamin D3, which they call the sunshine vitamin. It's not a vitamin. It goes into your, hits your skin and activates you so that you can take in more sun. He said, black people have selenium in their chemistry makeup, the same thing in trees and soil. We are nature. They're always trying. Oh yeah, of course. And listen, this was so deep. Okay. You secrete, your first line of defense is called your sebum. All right. Your sebum is secreted. Most of your sebum glands are in your face, your scalp, and your chest and your back. That's why when you have breakouts, that's usually where they occur, because that's where most of your sebum cells are. Now, do you know that the constitutional makeup of sebum is triglycerides, selenium, and some cholesterol, some wax esters, etc. Right? But 60% of your sebum is made of triglycerides or sugars. Okay? This is what sits at the root of your hair follicle and stuff. And then this actually coats your hair follicle, right? This sugar does to make it strong. Now, this is what's so important. That how is a plant stalk made strong? By something called cellulose. Cellulose is nothing but glucose on glucose on glucose on glucose. Makes this stalk. This is important for us to understand. This is how sugar manipulates itself. You see what I'm saying? So it becomes an oil that coats our skin. So when you see black people in the sun and they really doing their thing, they eating fruits and vegetables, you see black people glistening in the sun. They're almost crystal-like. They're almost, and white folks see that, they're like, this nigga's glowing. You know what they say? They say glistening. They don't want to say glowing, and they don't want to say you crystallizing. They just say this nigga's glistening. You ain't never seen no Blanco glisten in the sun until they make
never. They're gonna start burning. Moving that parasite right out the way. I'm sorry, but
trying
it's true.
to tell you. So we asked ourselves, we said, why ain't the Most High helping us? Do you know, according to the International Community for Scientific Research, which is an affiliate of the World Health Organization, one white person or Blanco dies from skin cancer every hour. It's called the International Agency. So the International Agency for Cancer Research, one Blanco dies every hour from skin cancer. And you thought Most High wasn't doing a job.
Okay.
You thought the Most High was just sitting back. The Most High, like, look, these Blancos trying to block me out. I'm doing my job. You get to work.
That's right.
You get out there and get to work. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. You know how many balls I'm juggling? I gotta grow plants food, I gotta keep the tides right, I gotta, you know what I'm saying? I gotta do this, do that. I am busy. I need y'all, the vanguards. This is why I created you, to help do the work. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just like your children, you take care of them for a point of time, but eventually you expect for them to take care of themselves. If you come from the Most High, why are we trying to break the chain of life? How life exists? You eventually get to a point where you're supposed to take care of yourself, defend yourself, and defend the others around you.
That's right.
Most High ain't changed nothing. So that is, those things are extremely important. It's just fascinating to me how all those things go over our head. Like we act like we waiting on somebody. Most High doing the work now. While you're waiting, they're acting. You see what I'm saying? While you're waiting, they're acting. So it's important that every measure we take is an act of war, brothers and sisters. Every measure we take is an act of war. So when you go to the grocery store and you look at all of those drugs that are in the grocery store in those aisles, and even the organic and all that different stuff, mind you that this is an act of war that you're working against yourself, fighting against yourself and your family, or you're fighting for them. Now, granted, a lot of us cannot make absolute changes immediately, right? So one of the things that we can do is that some of our children are so hooked on these things, we have to gradually wean them off. But you, on the other hand, as an adult, you can make those tough decisions. That's why it's so important to recognize that you have to lean on your experience, because you can make those decisions. You see what I'm saying? This is tough, but we can make those decisions. Almost reminded me, I was watching this documentary where it was this dude, he was on diabetic medication, and his medication was taking up 40% of their income, right? And then so the woman was like, what can we do? He has his diabetic medication, he has to do this and blah, blah, blah. And I can't feed this. So they're feeding children. They're going to fast food restaurants because they don't have time to cook and they can't afford all of the good stuff to eat.
Right.
So
They feeding
40% of his
children,
income
other
is going
children,
towards, and
believe
on
it or
average,
not.
that is the average of the income for most Americans in terms of them taking care of themselves just so that they can be slaves. So it was amazing to me that the guy didn't say, you know what, I'm going to change up my diet because 40% or half of my income is not going to go to my medication while my children suffer, become obese, and become, susceptible to cancers and all that just because I have to take care. That's ridiculous shit. So I knew it was days when I knew that in order for me to be able to take care of my son, for him to live the life that I knew that I needed him to live and to become and actualize himself as the God that I know he's going to become, I had to make sacrifices on my own. And it became easy because he was my motivation. It became easy. I look at him sleep. I'm like, oh, easy work. Easy work. Because I call him my chunk monk. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's he got them cheeks and stuff. It's like, no, it's easy. I would see him sleep. And when he sleep, he always try to put his arm around daddy because he would never sleep but unless he put his arm around me. I said, oh, this easy work. This is easy work. You know what I'm saying? And all I had to do was find out more of the information that I knew would help to transform me. And in instituting that would be child's play. Because once you come into the realization of what you are, not who you are, it's essentially child's play. This is why every measure that these Blancos take, it is a measure of of extermination, to exterminate. Because if we wasn't doing what we was doing, we would be at the brink of death right now, right? I'm telling you, if we kept on in our ignorance, we would be just like I said. You have one foot on the banana peel and one in the grave.
That's healthy skin.
You see,
that's truly flipping. Okay, guys, listen. We're gonna I actually want to play this video if I get out of here. I gotta go, y'all. I need to relax. But let's play this real quick, guys. I want you guys to see this, and this is a quick little video that's very important. When y'all buying it, y'all kids these McDonald's food burgers and shit, keeping in mind what they be putting in this stuff, guys, because it's deep. It's more than what you know, like literally. But I'm gonna play this real quick and we out of here. Peace, love, and bliss to everyone. Y'all have an awesome, outstanding day. And listen up.
The first species.
Pay attention, people. Pay attention.
Be aware of evolution, to be aware that we are affecting our own evolution by everything that we do, the babies we eat, the food we eat, the wars we fight. We are the first species.
Yeah, y'all heard it right. I'm going to play it again for those in the back that think this shit is a game. Listen up.
We are the first species.
Pay attention, people. Pay attention.
To be aware of evolution, to be aware that we are affecting our own evolution by everything that we do, the babies we eat, the food we eat, the wars we fight. We are the first species.
Right. One more time. One more time in case you wait a minute. Did I mishear that? It's short enough I can play it again. Peace, love, and bliss to y'all. Just dwell on this. Stay out of these fast food restaurants. Let's go there. Stay out of the fast food restaurants.
We are the first species.
Pay attention, people. Pay attention.
To be aware of evolution, to be aware that we are affecting our own evolution by everything that we do, the babies we eat, the food we eat, the wars we fight. We are the first species.